Yeah, you must get these comedy sketches every time you do these things,
All
though,
the
do you?
time, mate. All the time. All the time.
I mean, do you ever get to a stage where you can't find a solution?
The one I have had, which I was really gutted about because the bloke is so interesting. He's a bomb disposal expert and mine
Oof,
clearance expert.
oof.
I saw him. I saw him give a talk at this adventure festival that I was at, the Armchair Adventure Festival.
Yeah,
In fact, do you want to? Shall we just crack on now? Shall we just
yeah,
crack
yeah,
on with the
yeah,
podcast?
yeah. Just let me get me pad again. I've
No
made
worries.
notes.
Oh my God! Right.
Well,
Okay.
do you know what? I've just been doing a few pertinent things just lately, and I thought, let's get them included. What if I get rid of these clothes? I think it'll be better, don't you? I could do it quickly.
Okay. No problem at
Yeah.
all. Chat amongst yourselves, folks. I've
Mind
got.
you, they're not my clothes, so I might get into proper bother for doing this.
I don't know, mate. I thought you would look quite nice in that little black and white blouse number.
You're not starting this. You're not starting this podcast with any chance of it continuing with crap like that, mate. So watch your lip.
I think there's every chance of it continuing.
Yeah. Now, is there a 6 hour limit, or can we go longer than that this time?
I have pre-warned my wife. My wife was away the last time. That's why we
Yeah.
were still going at 1 o'clock in the morning. I've
Yeah.
pre-warned her, and she's going to sleep in the roof if we're still going when she goes to bed. So yeah, we can crack on, mate. It's up to you. I would say 1 a.m. is probably a good limit, though.
Okay. Well, I mean,
It's
ideally,
not a
I'd like it
target.
slightly more concise and
Yes.
generally shorter than that.
We have a lot of questions to get through, man. We only got through half the Patreon, and there's still a load on Instagram and
Right. Is that
Facebook. So there's loads. There's about
is
50.
50 Qs?
Man, honestly, maybe 30, maybe 30 questions.
Okay.
All right.
I think I'll be just as surprised. 30 questions. I didn't
We got
even have
through
those levels.
we got through 10 in 7.5 hours previously.
Oh, okay. Go on then, fire away. So
Right.
it's not about what I've been up to or anything just lately, because I
We
have
can
been doing some.
we can
Do you know
tie
what?
all that in. We can tie all that in, mate. Just
Okay,
us having a chat.
yeah, go on then.
Right. Okay. Folks, if you haven't figured it out, Mossy's back on the podcast. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing all right, actually, despite the fact I think something like 5 degrees is the warmest I've seen on the dash of my V-Strom long termer lately.
Oh, he's still got the
Uh,
V-Strom.
oh man, proper bike. 9,000 miles on that baby now, you know.
Good effort. Is that still with the Dunlop Trail Attack or whatever they were?
No, I've changed them. I've changed
Oh,
them to Dunlop Meridians, and
what are you
I
thinking?
do good actually. I mean, I've used them before, so it was not a bad choice. They've been sat there, and it came to change time, and I thought I'm going to put any more raids on it or
Hmm.
go to Meridians. And working on the basis that I'm very, very unlikely to go off-roading on it now because I think it's probably a bit too slippery. I just thought I'll try these Meridians. And shall I just chuck a quick confession in?
Go on.
The roads started getting slightly grippier, or probably best described as a lot less lethal because it
Mhm.
dried up a bit lately and the roads got washed. Anyway, I started riding a bit faster and I went, bloody steering's a bit funny on this. Anyway, I checked the front tyre pressure and I daren't tell you how low it is, or was rather. And strangely, got out with the air pump and all uh, accurate steering and stability was returned instantly. Do you know what? Checking your tyre pressures. You should do it every couple of days, really, shouldn't you?
Yeah,
Or,
absolutely. Yeah.
because it's all too easy for tyres to sort of lose some of the pressure and you not realise it because you're on the bloody thing all the time. Gradual deterioration like that is difficult to spot, isn't it?
Mhm.
And yeah, it was, that feeling you get when you put a new tyre on and everything's lithe and agile again. It was
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
unsurprisingly. Yeah.
All of a
So,
sudden, you're like, oh, this is how a bike's supposed to feel.
indeed.
Do you
And
have one of those? Sorry to interrupt, man, but it's a bit pertinent. Do you have one of those like pocket, like portable tire inflators, pumps? That's the word I'm
no,
looking for.
I should get one because the
Man,
easier you can make it, the more likely you are to check it, aren't you?
Absolutely. I think I got mine for like 40 or 50 quid on Amazon, and it's brilliant. The battery lasts like, well, I just leave it in my top box, so it'll easily last like 2, 3 months in between charges.
Bloody
And
hell.
it's got a little digital gauge on it. So as you said, it makes just checking your tire pressure really easy. Whack it in, have a look. Doesn't need pumping up. And you literally don't need to attach anything. It's all
Yeah.
self-contained. Little
Um,
box about literally about the size of a can of beer. Maybe a little bit bigger, an inch or two on it, maybe. And
give it a plug. Give it a plug, Bruce. Name names. Help me
man,
at least
I can't
look
remember the
one
name.
up.
I take what I'll do, folks. If you're watching or if you're listening, have a look at either the description of the vid, or if you listen to the podcast, look at the show notes down there, and I'll put a link to the one I bought. It'll be on there. It'll probably be an Amazon affiliate link, but it'll be there. There's loads of them
Right.
available.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, it's funny actually, and I bet that's something you daren't travel without now, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Because the second you don't have it, you need it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the reason why I probably didn't check it, just because I knew if I did and it was a bit hard out, it'd be a ball ache to sort it, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I mean, you become more and more of a fan of convenience, don't you, with bloody age? It's one of the reasons why I like bikes with bigger tanks,
Yeah.
because this palaver of having to bloody stop and refuel, Jesus, what a ball! If I
we get
had a pit crew, it'd be a lot better.
we get like MT10s and like Aprilia Tuonos and things like that come away on the tours that I run with Simon Weir. And
Yeah,
and normally it's an adventure bike fest on the
yeah,
tours, GSs and Multistradas and Triumphs. But occasionally you get the MT10s and the Tuonos, and they're like, if we're riding spirited, it's like 80, 90 miles and they need to fill up. And you're like, oh crap, we can get double that out the adventure bikes. So yeah, you just
yeah,
forget, don't you?
but I mean, do they become more and more unpopular during the course of the ride then?
No, but what tends to happen is by the end of the tour, they're now looking at adventure bikes. It's
Yeah,
people just realise that the big, sorry to go through it again, folks, but the big modern adventure bikes are every bit as capable on the road as
yeah,
any of your sport bikes out there.
yeah,
They'll keep up for sure. They'll keep up. If not,
yeah,
handle, dare I say it, handle the backcountry twisties probably better, and you're in total comfort.
yeah.
But
No,
anyway,
with you.
right. Do you have a tipple of choice for this evening?
Do you know what? It's a long story, but no, I'll probably have to nip downstairs and have a cup of tea or get one
No
whenever I
problems.
need a refill.
All right, bud. No dramas. No drama. Well, I'll start for now, and here's to your health. Hope you had a good Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, not bad actually. Just I was dog sitting on both Christmas and New Year's Eve.
All
Long
right.
story, but it was all right. Sometimes dogs are better than humans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
More
absolutely.
reliable.
Right. How about we crack on straight with the questions, and then
Go
we'll
on.
just see where the conversation takes us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right. Awesome. We got about halfway through the clan questions over on Patreon, so we'll pick up from there. I think the last one we had was Simon Beale. So the first one coming is Joe Hicks. Evening, gents. Having met you both, I never asked. Question one: what's the best bike you've ever ridden?
Now,
Okay.
Joe, that's not the most original question ever now, is it? Now,
There's more.
come
Don't
on.
worry. There's more.
Right. I don't, was I asked that last time?
I can't remember.
Listen,
remember.
the best bike, unquestionably, from a performance point of view, is certain Italian bloke, Valentino Rossi. When he rode for Repsol Honda in the first year of the four-stroke era, I rode his RC 211V.
Yes.
But do you know what? It was a bit of a frustrating outing. I'm sure I told you about this last time, actually, but let's go again for anyone
You
who
did.
didn't.
I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was an event, and it's an event from the moment you're first invited to have a go,
Yeah.
And I think I told you I got my hair dyed pink because Rossi had a bit of a penchant for dyeing his hair or adopting funny hairstyles then. And yeah, just an incredible thing. But the most surprising thing about it all was, and I dare say they'd turned the performance down a bit, but it was its manageability.
Mm,
Sure, it was super fast, but it was like, have you ever ridden a VFR 750 back in the day?
nope.
Just, I mean, even the 1200, it's a powerful yet very, very linear sort of power delivery that never feels intimidating.
Yeah.
Rossi's bike was like that. Sure, I rode it at Catalunya and it just ate the gears going down the straight and you were soon at the end of it. But what put it in context was I got to go on Chianari's British Superbike Fireblade not that long later, and that felt a lot nastier. That had a proper kick in its pants once it started revving. That suddenly came in and made it wheelie prone and generally a lot more, just a bit edgy and a bit scary, by comparison.
Was it Chianari that did that legendary lap at British Superbikes
in
well,
the
not a lap,
wet,
a race in the wet? He was the only
amazing,
one that stayed on the bike, I think.
amazing. I mean, Google it. Do you know what? I could watch it now and still giggle, and it was jaw-dropping stuff. That
Yeah,
I just went, he's crashing
yeah.
because he looked like he was crashing on every corner. He was coming in sideways, wasn't he? Getting the arse out, coming out. Fabulous thing to watch. I mean, it's one of the problems with MotoGP these days, isn't it? Bikes stay in line too much.
Mm-hmm.
Great to watch, I mean, I'm a big fan, and these guys are riding the very, very best bikes with the best possible grip at the limit and over it. And they're doing it corner after corner after corner, lap after lap after lap. But nothing beats the sight of that Chianari lap or
Yeah,
Gary McCoy. Do you remember when he was on the
yeah. I
Red
remember
Bull?
him. Yeah, yeah. Had the
Smoking
big
the
Mohican.
tires. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just talking about his riding style,
Yeah,
fully
yeah, yeah.
sideways. But the electronics just prevent that now, so it's
Mm.
not anywhere near as spectacular.
Yeah, that performance by Chianari is just,
Oh,
folks, if you've
amazing,
never seen it, just YouTube
amazing.
it, search it.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
phenomenal. Literally, like, everyone who's behind him, who's out on, a lot of people didn't even bother racing, did they? Because it was so
yeah,
wet. It's like
yeah.
standing water sort of wet.
That's it.
And those that are trying to keep up with him are just ditching the bikes left, right, and centre. And I think even the commentators at one point are just, it's silence because they're just watching this going, how is he doing that? It was
Now, was
nuts.
it? It was a qualifying lap, wasn't it? Was it Super Pole or something, or do you think it was in the race?
I thought it was an actual race.
I think it was in qualifying. It's
Mm,
either one of the free practices or qualifying or Super Pole.
right.
Whatever, just Chianari sideways in the wet. Who was he riding for? Was it the Tenkada
Yeah, I think it
lot?
was. Yeah, it was that sort of
White,
that
wasn't it?
that white greeny
White.
bike,
That's
white
it.
and whatever it was. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
It's stunning performance.
do you remember when Marco Melandri came out of the last corner at Phillip Island, fully sideways, and took his hand off the bar?
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Another unforgettable moment. But best thing about Chianari's lap that he was just doing it, wasn't he?
Mm,
Every corner, in
yeah.
and out. That's when I never want to ride a bike again for feeling completely inept and
Yeah.
useless.
I'm just happy to keep it upright, but when I get home, you know what I mean? Well, I'm
Yeah,
talking about the bike, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what? I've occasionally had a slide on video, and to me, it feels like a foot out of line.
I
You
know.
can barely see it.
I
If you
think.
get
Go on, go on.
if you get out of line as much as those guys do, you will surely think that, well, you're just getting ready to dive off.
Have you
To do that really is something. Sorry, Bruce, go on.
you must know Bob Collins from
I
FWR.
do, yeah, good bloke, good bloke. Do you know what? I
When
have
you
got
watch him slide a bike, it's just,
yeah,
I
no, he's a
mean,
bit talented. Hello, Bob.
phenomenal.
Do you know what? It's a great shame because whenever we mention Bob Collins, I think of a story that I cannot possibly tell. Uh,
Was Frank on display that in this story? Bob's alter ego, Frank. It used to
I
come
am
out.
saying, do you know what? I'm saying nothing that may give a clue to what went on that evening.
Apologies for interrupting, folks, but a quick shout out for this week's sponsors, who this week are Ultimate Add-ons. Bit of spiel to read out for them. Ultimate Add-ons are the premium manufacturer of mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions for motorcycles. With a kit for any bike and a proven track record of creating products that keep your devices safe, secure, and easily accessible, the Ultimate Add-ons product range is ideal for any rider, from the commuter to the round-the-world adventurer. Why shell out on an expensive GPS system when you could use your smartphone, keeping it charged and within reach to take photos of your travels at the same time? Ultimate Add-ons waterproof, shockproof and dustproof tough cases are available for all flagship smartphone models and are designed by riders for riders. Find out why Ride Magazine gives Ultimate Add-ons their coveted Best Buy certification. Keep riding this winter with Ultimate Add-ons. It's all about the journey. Now, if you head to Ultimate Add-ons, links down below, it's just Ultimate with ADDONS, all one word, ultimateaddons.com. Use the code TeapotOne, that's Teapot with ONE at the end, TeapotOne, then you'll get 10% off their entire product range. That also works for Dango Design UK as well. I've never had any vibration issues with the cases that I use. I've got one for my iPhone and I use the Hex sort of strap. It's in the pedal cycle section. It's just like a ratchet strap which allows you to pretty much attach it to absolutely anything, and then your case attaches to that. So a massive thank you to Ultimate Add-ons for their continued support.
All
Just
I'll
say one word that Bob will be able to go, oh yeah, right.
the night before the press day at the NEC show.
Oh, wow. Close to home.
Well, do you know what? I'd love to tell it, but I can't. It's no.
Another time.
No, never.
I'll just ask Bob then. It's all right.
I'll tell you it privately, but I'm not telling it on the podcast. I will be seen in a very different light.
Right, no worries.
Yeah, I'm giving too much away. Well, let's put it this way. When I was at the NEC the next
He's dying
day,
to tell us, isn't he? He's dying to tell us.
I am dying to tell you. Let's put it this way. Let's just put it in some sort of context. When I went to the NEC the next day, anyone I knew I avoided because I was just too embarrassed to face anyone I knew at all. And I only got to lunchtime before I had to go home. And really? I wouldn't care. Bob came across and said what he said, and I said, look, I can't possibly get involved with that because it's press day tomorrow and I need to be on my best behaviour. And it just went downhill from there.
Awesome. That used to happen with Bob, didn't it? He's a good lad now. He's a
great bloke. I haven't seen him.
He's totally dry now, isn't he?
Yeah. No, I'd be giving too much away. You're nearly getting me. You keep casting on here, and
I know.
I nearly keep biting.
Right, this is a 3-part question from Joe, and we've just done the first one, so we better crack on.
So, favourite bike, Valentino Rossi's GP bike, because of what it was, because of the occasion. You know, it's a rare moment, isn't it, to be given an invite like that and to be on the thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I've had plenty of good times on other bikes and other more modestly performing bikes, but I think that's the one you boast about, you know?
That's iconic, isn't it? Rossi's, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, other opposite end of the spectrum, worst bike you've ever ridden?
Do you know what? I suppose, do you remember the V-Due Bermotor? It was a 500 fuel-injected 2-stroke, right?
Nope.
Very light. On paper, it was like a GP rep, really. Just trying to think what... I got to ride it. I think it came out in about 98. Anyway, everybody got excited about it, and Mr. Alan Cathcart said it was amazing. On paper, it should have been. Super light thing. I think it only weighed about 130 kilos or something. It wasn't super powerful, but the power-to-weight ratio was just right. It was very racing to look at. 2-stroke, you know, exciting to ride, etc. Like I say, in theory, should have been the next big thing. Anyway, we drove rather all the way to Stranraer, where the importer was at the time, to ride this thing. And we took Trick 916 and we took an RC45. I think we'd bought Cathcart's test for MCN, so we'd done the single bike test on it. And he described it as an amazing thing, which everybody sort of believes. Anyway, I got on it. And the throttle response was just, at best, it was pretty shit. And at worst, at worst, it was dangerous. It had a mind of its own. The fuel injection, I think to inject a two-stroke back then was a very, very big and quite audacious thing
God,
to
yeah.
tackle. I mean, Honda had tried it with their NSR 500, but given up on it. Do you know what? One of the most amazing engines I've ridden on is either a KTM 250 or 300 fuel-injected two-stroke off-road bike. You cannot believe how well that works. It's another story, but totally usable, super frugal, amazing bottom end. I'd love them to put that engine in a road bike. Something like, it's an RC 390, isn't it? The road bike.
Yeah, the small Duke, yeah.
If they put the 300 two-stroke engine in that, it would just be the LC for today.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this V-Duo, it would just bog if you just didn't have exactly the right throttle opening, or you didn't have the right gear choice. It would just bog. And even when it did work, its power band seemed as though it was about 500 RPM wide. It was just shit. It was not fit for purpose. And I sort of felt a bit sorry, actually. I think it was a chap called Peter Kinnersley. And Peter, if you're hearing and I've got your name wrong, I do apologise because you are a lovely man. He came up to me, I think, after I'd ridden it. It's got a long time ago now. Yesterday's a long time ago for me, but that is a long time ago. And he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Mate, shit." He said, "Should not be on sale." Anyway, so I went, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "It doesn't work. It doesn't. You open the throttle, you're supposed to get some acceleration. It makes its mind up, and if it thinks you're a decent bloke, just for a minute at least, you might get some response. But by and large, it's going, no, I'm not doing that. You want me to go off? I fuck off. I'm not doing that." Actually, I've just committed a sin. I promised me dad I wouldn't swear this time.
Well, I think we fucked that off in the opening minute, didn't we?
Now, eventually, they carbed it and they made it work. But it was too late then. I think the novelty had worn off, and part of the novelty was the fact that it was fuel injected anyway. And the long story is it pretty much caused Bimota to fold. Now, Bimota's been bailed out again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? I don't think you can sort of go bankrupt or fail as a company in Italy. I think the government or somebody else just bails you out every time,
Yeah. It's like Harley in the States, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, something that should have been right just turned it. It had to be taken off sale, before they put carbs on it to resell it. But as I say, it lost its appeal then. So good try, but just can't believe how bad it was. If it was a home built special that Billy bloody Bollocks had said, "Come and have a go at this,"
yeah,
you could understand it. Somebody who'd built it in the shed on a Friday night, and maybe early Saturday morning as well, while the hangover wore off, possibly. But a factory like that, I mean, listen, do you remember when Bimotas were something really special?
I'm a babby to all this, Mossy.
Yeah.
I was 2008. I started.
Think of your most exotic bike. In fact, you know what? They were so exotic for the time. I mean, a mate of mine had a KB1. Basically, it was a Bimota chassis, super trick-looking thing. This is back in about 1978. And it had a Z.
I was 2.
Say again?
I was 2.
All right, okay, you've got a good excuse for not knowing it. I'll accept that ignorance on that basis. Um, do you know what? He bought it and he came round to see me on it, and I couldn't speak, man. You know when you see something really special,
Yeah.
and it takes over your brain power so much. Speech is something you're incapable of. A few bikes have done that. RD 500 LC, first time I saw one of them. Ducati 916, first time I saw one of them, just drooling to the point of silence,
Yeah.
just look at that. And this KB1 was like that. They made few. SB2 was quite something else, SB3. Um, in the day when specials were limited to things like Rickmans or Motor Martins, which were fine, don't get me wrong, this thing came along and it just looked, Italian for starters. Looked like a work of art and rode like whatever the best class of four-stroke racing was in the day. What did I say? That preceded World Superbikes, actually, didn't it? Because I think Superbikes, World Superbikes was 89 onwards. This is 10 years, 12 years before that. Amazing. Just Google early Bermudas. Totally unaffordable. I don't know how my mate must have pinched it, I think. But no, just really quite something. What was the question? What made me mention that bike?
The worst bike you've ever ridden.
Oh, yeah, I was talking then. Yeah, the Bermuda V-Duo was the worst, and it was all the more difficult to understand because
when it's come from the pedigree.
Amazing bikes once upon a time. But then again, Honda used to win MotoGP races. Well, I will say nothing more than that.
Yeah, what do you think's going to happen with that? Do you think is there a comeback? Is there a way back for Honda?
Well, there is, of course, because it's Honda. Honda have been in the shit more than once before. Do you remember the NR 500?
I know the name, but again, before my time.
Do you remember anything?
Oh, really?
Right,
no.
NR 500 was a bit special in inverted commas because it was the Honda tried racing a four-stroke alongside two strokes back in. Now, was this about 78? I'm stabbing at the date there. Listen, you needed a 78. No, it must have been a bit later than that, I think. You needed a two-stroke. You needed an RG 500 or something to win. And Honda decided that they didn't want to get into the two-stroke game, so they made this ovaled pistoned, I think it was 16 valve. I think it was a V4. I'm embarrassed not to remember all the techie details, but it was just an absolute failure. It failed to qualify in its first race at Silverstone. The organisers took pity on Honda and let it compete. Mick Grant crashed his on the first lap, and I don't think it competed in a few Grand Prix, but it never either finished or did well.
Right.
And then they built the NSR. No, then they built the NS 500 triple, which Spencer eventually won a title on, and then the NSR 500 V4. Then they just won everything.
Right.
And now, for whatever reason, they're failing dismally. And listen, Ducati is it's a what's the expression used for a sort of minor industry? It's like a corner shop compared to bloody Honda's mega supermarket, really, when it comes to bike production, budget, et al. Yet Ducati is kicking Honda's and everyone else's arse, isn't it?
They are, yeah.
Listen,
it's unreal, isn't it? Where they've come from even like when Rossi moved to them. Remember Rossi moved across to Ducati, and even he couldn't ride the bloody. Yeah. The only one that could ride it was Stoner, and then all of a sudden now, good God, and the Ducati's the bike, isn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what? You know when that Rossi bike that I had to go on, that was the bike to have. Everyone who rode that, I mean, Rossi was a contracted rider, Japanese guy. I don't know if it was. Look, I can't remember it. Well, I was nearly said everything there. I think anything is a more appropriate choice of words. I can't remember the name of his Japanese teammate, but only those two had them at first. And then they started giving them to people like Colin Edwards, did well straight away. Sete Gibernau did well straight away. Marco Melandri did well on it straight away. Rossi and Barros had them. They had them as wild cards. And just everyone... Do you know what? To prove how the only way, in fact, you would know how good you actually were as a Grand Prix rider in MotoGP was to get on a Honda. And now it seems to be the case with the Ducati. I mean, listen, if Marc Marquez cannot make that bike win, then there's something very, very wrong. Can I tell you a little story? I'm tending to think it's the culture that's the problem, the Japanese culture, because the Yamaha's doing very badly as well. And just to put it in context, I did a interview with Rossi once, and he just joined Ducati after riding for Honda for quite a while. And I said, what's it like being back there, riding for an Italian manufacturer, And he just said, man, you won't believe it. If I ever wanted a change made to my Honda, we'd have to have lots of meetings. There'd have to be lots of communication with Japan. If I was lucky, a change had been made for the next Grand Prix. If I need a change now, I phone the workshop at Bologna, and the next time I ride that bike, that change has been made. As long as a few people think, if he says he wants chopper handlebars on it, he might be told to wait for that. Or if he wants a 21-inch front wheel or something, or knob wheels, or tassels on the end of the bars. But no, he just said, anything I want. We're all on side. We're all in the same team, and the rider is listened to. I mean, I've heard some stories from people who've ridden for Honda, and they just said they'll just say, "Look, Mick Doohan wins on that. You'll just have to do the same." It's like, well, I'm not Mick Doohan. I think Stoner had problems with him to begin with,
Yeah.
I went on a launch. I went on a launch with Suzuki not long ago, and for the first time on a Suzuki launch, let's be fair to Suzuki, it was a bit naff. And James from Motorcom, who looked after Suzuki's affairs in the UK, he said at the end of the first day, second day, I think it was, he says, I've got a chance for you to meet the Japanese engineers if you want. Anyway, I said, well, yeah, go on then. Let's see what the score is. And the reason I was a bit reticent is because I know when I meet Japanese, they're very corporate. They don't say they're not daring enough.
Yeah.
They are super, super brand loyal. If you make any sort of criticism, they don't tend to listen, or they'll express non-interest. Anyway, they were saying, what do you think of the bike? And I said, look, the bike's pretty good. It was see if I can get this right, GSX S1000GX. It's their new sort of sit and beg. Shall we call it a tall rounder? It's got Lecky suspension. Now, I've ridden the S and the GT versions, and I like both, and this is a modified version of that, so I thought it should be pretty good. But the route they chose didn't allow us to explore the full potential of the bike, and nor did the choice of tyres. Anyway, he said, what do you think of the launch? So I told him those two things, and they were sort of a bit dumbfounded, and I think there's a chasm between their philosophy in life and their culture and the likes of us Europeans, and I felt as though I was wasting my time. I really did. How did we get onto that one? Oh yeah, so similarly, I'm not sure. No, similarly, I'm not sure that when a Honda rider asks for changes or demands something better.
Yeah.
Look, listen, Honda's situation is piteous. It's utterly piteous. This is the world's biggest manufacturer that's probably done better in Grand Prix racing than any other. I mean, MV's up there, obviously, and other people have done very well, but how many wins have they had? They're an amazing company, and they are just failing dismally currently. But when you ask me the question, will they come back? Undoubtedly. I mean, do you know what? I don't want to comment too much about MotoGP racing because I'm not an expert. Can I say something though?
Of
Here's
course
a
you can.
plug. Here's a plug. If you want to learn more about MotoGP, listen to the Oxley Bomb podcast. Matt
Oxley Bomb.
Oxley,
Oh,
right,
yeah, yeah.
Matt Oxley and Peter Bomb. Matt Oxley, a lot of people know, absolute authority on Grand Prix racing and lots of other things. Lovely bloke. Mentioned him last time as well. I don't know how he does what he does. He writes books. He goes to every Grand Prix virtually. He's always at the keyboard doing something. Anyway, this podcast only started last year, I think. And I think this might have been about the eighth one, but all of them are really good, but there's been a few gems lately that really enlighten you to just how complicated, political, and how generally massive and very competitive and hugely challenging MotoGP is. Honda will come back without question. And if you want to learn more about this subject that I don't know enough about to offer more than that, Oxley Bomb podcast.
All right, that's one to check out.
It airs every Sunday night. And you know what? Pedro Acosta has got a crew chief. And I wish I could remember this man's name. I'm not even going to he's a South African guy. He was on the podcast recently. Man, he was really enlightening as to what makes a team work and what causes it to fail. I'm embarrassed not to say. I'll tell you what, when we stop for a cup of tea, I will look his name up and I'll come straight back to you with it. But I think it was not the most recent, but the one before podcast.
Right. Okay. Speaking of cup of tea, what sort of time do you want to stop for a brew?
I'm all right now. Now.
Right, no worries. Lovely job. Right, that'll do us for the first question. It's 45 minutes. Joe Hicks, thank you very much for that.
What was the chap's name that we...
Joe Hicks.
Oh, hi, Joe. Hope that was good enough. If it wasn't, fear not about shouting up and saying, that was shite.
We are also sponsored by the Influencer Store. Now, Roger and Charlotte over at the Influencer Store, they've been doing my merch for TeapotOne.com for quite a few years now. I used to use the standard sort of print-on-demand type web-based ones. It was nice and easy to do that, but the quality of the products were 2 or 3 washes and they fell apart. They'd lose their shape. And I wasn't really happy for my brand to be associated with that sort of quality. So I was on the hunt for some better quality merch. I saw Richie Vida stuff and thought, that's really good. Nice quality, really nice print, like the designs. And he pointed me in the direction of Roger and Charlotte over at the Influencer Store. And they've been doing my merch ever since. I get the feedback from you guys when you spend your hard-earned money on the merch and you seem to be happy with it. If you're not, please do let me know and we can feed it back. But I've got some spiel to read out from them. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design. And there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at influencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. And lastly, a massive shout out to all of you over in the clan, over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. Could not do this without all your support, folks. We've got a fantastic community going on over there. Everyone's so supportive of each other. We do the ride outs, we do the meetups, and obviously you guys get first choice for the questions on the podcast. Thank you so much for all your support. I hope you're all still enjoying it. Let's get back to the podcast.
I'll tell you, how much flack do you get on your podcasts ever, Bruce?
To be honest, not that much. To be honest, nothing compared to my main Teapot channel. The podcast tends to be pretty positive, and especially this lot, the clan, because they're Patreon. These people they follow.
Okay. Forgive me. How much flack do you ever get then on anything you do online?
Not too much. I do get the odd bit.
Just show it off.
I do get the odd bit. I get a fair bit of abuse for riding a GS and for always going on about the GS. That's about it, really. And then I get I'm quite forthright with what I say, and I don't
Yeah,
I don't pull punches. I'm not going to bullshit anybody, so I say what I think.
yeah.
And some people like it, other people don't like it. So you get a little bit, but
Oh,
you know,
I get some proper shite.
yeah.
Like, I mean, do you know what?
I
The first time I got flack, fucking I nearly had a nervous breakdown.
I used
But
to
you just,
ignore it, but now I just give it back. Now I just go, well, tell me why you think that. I'm not going to purposely be rude, but I'm going to say
yeah,
to people, why do you think that? Because
yeah,
like this is what I intended to say, and if it didn't come across that way, sorry, but this is what I
yeah,
meant. And
yeah.
if tell me why are you saying what you're saying?
I
Basically,
think,
just
listen,
front them out.
if you're dealing with people, you just got to get the odd difficulty, aren't you? Simple
You
as
are,
that.
yeah, but
We're a challenging species at times, aren't
but a lot of the time, I think a lot of the time for me anyway, I think I chatted about this with you before. I've certainly chatted about it on a podcast.
we? Yeah,
I might take a comment that's left in the wrong way. I
yeah,
might read it not in the way they intended it. Um, and then other times, people are just in a bad mood, so they'll leave something shitty. And when you actually do come back to them and go, "Oh, hang on a minute, that's not
yeah,
on,"
yeah.
some of the time they'll reply and just be like, "I'm really sorry, apologies,
Oh, okay.
that was out of order." Not always. Sometimes they're just complete cockwombles,
Well,
but
so one day I'll be as popular as Bruce Smart, and I won't get shit.
I think if you are getting a lot of shit, Mossy, then that's a good sign.
Yeah, listen,
The shit starts once you get to a certain level, doesn't it?
listen. If you're mouthy and opinionated, which I tend
Exactly.
to be from time to time, I'm sure you've noticed, you're going to get shit from someone. You can't please all of the people all of the time, can you?
No, you can't. And I think if somebody is coming across as being quite beige and trying to please everybody, I tend not to. I
No,
tend, you know what I
it's
mean?
not the
It's
way to
just
live life, is it? Life
no.
life with colour.
Say what you think. Just
Yeah.
you need to be diplomatic at times for sure, but say what you think and have some blooming. What's the word? What's the
No,
word?
just personality. Have some opinion.
Aye, yeah.
Do you know what? Carl Fogarty, I like. I don't always like what he says, and
Mhm.
there'll be times when I go, "For fuck's sake, Carl, have you got any idea how much shit you're going to get for saying that?" But at least he's got the balls to
To
say
say it.
it. You know?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
It'd be a very black and white world, wouldn't it, if people were, like Henry Kissinger all of the time.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, man, his loss affected me. He was a big man in his day, wasn't he?
Kissinger.
Yeah, big guy.
Okay, it's before my time, Mossy. You know what I mean? I'm like
I'm
Gordon the
talking to a
Gopher.
child.
That's my era. Gordon the
You
Gopher.
know what? You're
Ed the
making
Duck.
me. When you talk. When you're hanging around with teenagers and they just don't understand anything they say. You are like, are you actually? Are you over 21?
Don't let this beard fool you, man. And I'm a little
That
spring
beard,
chicken,
that
a wee
beard's
pup.
just there for effect, isn't it?
It is.
You actually haven't got a riding license. You haven't passed your test, have you? You're too young.
Not even done my GCSEs, man. Craig.
Well, there's evidence to support that claim on a regular basis.
Right, let's get another question.
Yeah.
David
Okay.
David McCracken. Question for both Mossy and Bruce. Have you ever ridden a bike naked? If so, which bike, where, and was it as magical as it sounds?
Right. I
I
take
have
it
not.
without clothes.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did once. Now, I'll tell you, it's amazing, right? This should be truly memorable. Do you remember Bikes Allowed? Do you know what? There's a lot got to go over your head tonight, isn't it?
I know the name for some reason,
Right.
and it's not because
Okay.
of Girls Allowed.
I used to do a series on Men and Motors with a chap called John Cantley, who's sadly no longer with us, and
Yes.
a lovely lady called Louise Brady. It was a bike program, and we once had to ride. No, they had me riding naked. I rode slowly to be careful for obvious reasons. Let the wheels begin turning. I should have that in the forefront of my mind, really, but I've ridden a few bikes in my time, so
Men and Motors. I remember that well.
yeah.
I
Well,
was.
Google it. That's who I did the Rossi bike for.
Okay. All right.
So, but
Okay.
we did
Gotcha.
some proper zany stuff on that. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a laddish program, you know. 44 Teeth. Possible. Listen, we did what 44 Teeth are doing now, you know. But we're not
Yeah.
doing it as well as you, Alistair and Chris. We're not doing it as well as you. Don't worry.
I think there's either a comment or a question from Fagan on, I think it's on Facebook I saw. So
What for us?
yeah, for us. I look for there's quite a few of the
Oh,
journals actually have
oh
left some
no,
some
oh
questions
no,
and comments
no,
on
no,
Facebook.
no, no.
So yeah, I look forward to going through them.
I'm sorry, I've just got to go out now. I may be sometime. I may be sometime. Now you must know who said that.
Well, I may be some time.
I'm just going out now. I may be sometime. Very, very famous historical quote.
It is.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm not just dealing with someone too young. I'm dealing with someone who clearly isn't well read.
I genuinely remember. I remember the quote, but I'm trying to remember who the heck it was by.
Think
Maybe
of
sometime.
Scott of the Antarctic and his adventure. Did he go down? Yeah, I'll say no more than that. Just look it up.
Another one to Google. Another one to
Yes,
Google.
indeed, indeed.
Sorry, I sound like an ill-educated child. Apologies. Right, okay, so I've not ridden naked.
On a good
Mossy
day, you
has.
sound like that, mate. This is David McCracken. Now, naked. So yes, I can't. Do you know what? I think it was something as zany. It's sort of coming back to me now. There was right bikes allowed. As I said, we did some stuff in a fairly alternative fashion. There was a bloke who made motorized furniture. Now, let me just tell you this story briefly. Me and Cantley were sat. It was like a three-piece seat with a suite. No, it was a sofa. It was a motorized sofa. And
Yeah, I
a
remember seeing it.
little coffee table in front of it.
Yeah.
And we're doing a tracking shot behind the car. And suddenly the car had to pull up a bit sharpish. And Mr. Cantley wasn't, at this time at least, good enough on the brakes, was going to hit the car. So instead, swerved into this into this house. It was down in Surrey somewhere. I expected the neighbours to rush out and see this sofa parked against the living room wall. You know, yeah. Things eventually come back to me. It's like certain bikes sometimes run for a whole day without problem. Others don't. I'm like one of those bikes. Right, next question. I'm chuntering on.
Just going back, that furniture.
Yes.
Did he also do a toilet? Did he also
Yeah,
do
he did. He
a
did. He
motorized? I
did.
remember seeing that
He
one. I
did.
think
Yeah.
that was probably in like Loaded or FHM. I saw that.
Yeah,
Probably
but it did
Loaded.
do the rounds. A lot of his
Yeah,
stuff did the rounds. He wasn't best pleased that we'd crashed it, I'll tell you.
I bet. Jesus.
Didn't see the funny side at all. Big invoice. I
Blimey,
think
was
he
it?
I think he might have been invited to Foxtrot Oscar, you know, by Bikes Allowed. I can't remember.
Well, at
If
least you
only
wouldn't
you could.
go on.
So, if only you could remember everything. Imagine if you could remember everything, your head would go bang, wouldn't it?
At least you didn't have far to go to, find somewhere to sit and wait for recovery, eh?
Oh no, we didn't damage it irreparably. I think some of the coffee on the coffee table was spilt, but no,
Digestive went flying.
we just bent a bit of the framework here and there and put in the odd. Well, just give it a few battle scars, you know.
Bit of
But I
character.
think some people. Do you know what I once remembered? If you crashed a Ducati, you didn't just have to pay for every bit. You had to pay full retail for every single bit that you marked.
Jeez.
Oh, outrageous!
Blimey.
Good deterrent to crashing.
Was it though?
Yeah, no,
Nah,
I'm just trying. Do you know
exactly.
what? Right, here's one of the most embarrassing crashes in many ways. Cal Fogarty replica. Do you remember it? Fucking hell. You, even I don't know. How can I put this? I, I was going to try and make a joke, but it would have been at your expense. And we can do that at
I'm
any
used to
time.
that.
So
I'm used to
I'll
that.
move on. I'll move on. Caddy made a Cal Fogarty replica to celebrate his championship wins. And I borrowed it. Motorcinelli used to be the importer. They used to be based in Northampton. Very special thing, this thing, cost 21 grand
Jeez.
back in the days where, do you know what? I reckon a blade cost about, what was the original price of a blade? It's about 9.5 or something?
I remember
This,
my first Gixxer Thou, sort of 2008. That was like 9 grand for a
right, well,
Gixxer Thou then.
this was in about 98, I think. Anyway, I rode it out of Motorchinelli's car park. I turned right at a mini roundabout. I slowed for the next mini roundabout and then felt this fairly serious thud against the back tyre and suddenly started flying through the air.
Oh,
So some girl in a car had not noticed that I'd stopped, and just fucking punched me right up the arse and sent me flying. And you know what? I got to my feet. I mean, I don't have the longest fuse when it comes to things like that. And I got to my feet, ran to a window, and I just said, and sorry, I'll apologise for me dad in advance on this thing. The first thing I said was, do you know how much this fucking bike costs? And she just went, boo. So apparently a fly had come into the cab of a car. What do you call a cab of the cockpit area?
Cockpit.
And she was swatting it like so and didn't notice this bright red Ducati pull up a bit sharpish. So I was back to Gianelli. I pushed it back to Gianelli, a 2-minute journey, and just said, about that bike that you gave me half an hour ago.
Oh.
And luckily they were good about that. And I don't think we got billed for it. I think new owners by then. So,
Blimey. That's a bit of a spot of luck, isn't it?
Look, I'm not calling that lucky, mate, but yeah, it could have
but
been,
not getting the bill, I mean.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I just crashed them. I never paid them for the bill. Don't worry about that.
Right, next one, James Burner. How you doing, James? Hey, Bruce. Hey, Mossy. I hope you're both well. 2 questions for you. First one, if you could take the front half of one bike and the back half of another to make...
Dave, come on.
There you go. To make one Franken bike, what are your choices and why? I don't want to hear any Super Ducar or BMW GS has nailed it, so keep them as is.
Hang on a minute, James. First, you ask us a difficult question, and then
now he's dictating. Yeah.
Then you start censoring the answer before we've even bloody had time to think about it. Jesus, man, that's very difficult indeed. Good question.
Best Franken bike.
There is an intrinsic link, isn't there, between what's deemed as a good question and what's almost impossible to answer. Can we debate this, please, Bruce? Can we debate? Because I mean, right? I want a front end with grip, good brakes. Fucking hell, bit of style. Now, are we talking about the front end as in the face of the bike, the clocks?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Jesus, man, can we? I don't know if I can actually answer questions and think at the same time, but can I put that on pause, that one?
Okay. I don't know how you do that. I can't think about other things. I'm just one at a time.
Much like my stories, the facts of them eventually come to mind. So maybe there's this little sort of chemistry set being worked on by a couple of mad professors inside this skull of mine. And, if they put together the right ingredients, then
they go ding, boom, up it comes.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to a second question then, and we can come back to the first one.
Back to you in due course, James. Sorry, but feel flattered that at least we're trying, because that is a tricky one.
Second question. Bruce. Second question, and this one I think you'll like. If you were adopted by friendly aliens and fully accepted into their culture...
Stop. I lost you there. There was a hitch of a technical nature.
Right up.
We ran onto reserve. Do you know what a reserve tap is on a fuel tank?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, good, right. You're not that young then.
No, but I don't think new bikes had them when I started riding.
Yeah, I got you.
I had some mates who had older bikes who did have the reserve. Right. Yeah.
Somebody told you about them in a pub once.
That's right. Right. Okay, James, second question. If you were abducted by friendly aliens and fully accepted into their culture, then told you'd be there for 1 year and delivered back to where they pinched you from, how would you spend that year? For argument's sake, you can breathe their air and talk with them, no problems. Okay, a year with
All right,
aliens, what would you do?
human aliens.
Oh, that's a good point. I think he means extraterrestrial.
Are you on the back of your ear or something, James?
James will be. James is currently out living in the Pyrenees, I think, at the moment.
Right, okay.
He's a young lad.
Everything has just been explained. I'll tell you what, right, to give you an immediate answer, the people that I would love to understand are these MotoGP guys or these Dakar guys, right? And to understand them, I would just like, I mean, the Dakar is something that I really, really rate and admire every single person that's involved in, not just the riders and the drivers,
Yeah.
but the spanner men, the organisation, everybody who plays a part in making this massive thing happen. Same with MotoGP. I would like to be in a team. I don't need to have do you know what? I wouldn't necessarily want to have the most prestigious role. I'd like to be free to wander about, just talk to everyone to some
Just be
degree.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah, just listen. I'd clean wheels and fairings and just do as I was told. But
Are you touting for a job here, Mossy?
Well, I need to be there for about a year to just feel the vibe and absorb everything. One of the reasons Oxley is so good at his job is because he's been there for about 100 years. He's just been within the confines of that very special place that people don't really get access to, not proper access. You know, in order to understand MotoGP, you'd have to speak to every single person and have them tell you frank and honest questions, answers to every question that you had. And I'd like to be in a position to just learn about either MotoGP or the Dakar. You know, just what is it? What's involved in making this magical event happen? Is that question 2 of 3?
No, that was just 2. Question 2 of 2. First one was the Frankenbike. Second one was that.
Okay, I'll tell you another thing. I would like to be a witness to a complete neutral who comes to our planet for the first time and is privy to witnessing just how we live life here. Because, I mean, I told you last time, I'm an angry man at the moment, man. This post office scandal is another reminder of...
Disgusting.
Do you know what? We need a new word. We need a new word that is effectively the word disgusting to the power of 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the more you learn about this, I mean, did you hear today the witness statement of one of the chief investigators representing the post office?
No.
It's appalling to listen to. It was best summed up by, and I hope you can do a better job than this, who wrote the book? Who's one of the big authorities on this scandal? He wrote the book about it. I think he's been an advisor, clearly, on the drama series. What's his name?
No idea.
He was interviewed shortly after this guy had given his 2 penneth, and he just said, this guy must be the worst investigator on earth. He wasn't very bright. He was so naive. It was untrue. He took for granted that the Horizon program, because lawyers and the post office told him to say this, he didn't question it. It was good enough for him that the authorities had said it was fine. He didn't question it. And the more he said, the more I got so enraged. You know,
it's disgusting, isn't it? I mean, that's ended people's livelihoods. It's ended people's lives. People have taken their lives over this. And I remember when this was all going on, and I remember I remember at the time knowing it was bullshit. It was a software issue, wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
initially everyone was just like, oh, bloody hell, someone's going on at a post office. And then it all came to light that it was software issue. I'd assumed that had all been rectified and it was all sorted. And,
Right.
why would people have criminal records still to this day? Why is it taken for a drama series on TV to
Exactly.
highlight it and
Yeah.
force the government's hand? That is inexcusable in my book.
I mean, would you agree that had the drama series not been shown, there is a possibility that they could have got away with it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. We are
I
so
mean,
apathetic, not just
yeah.
in this country, but people in
No,
general, I would say. We're very apathetic, aren't we? We
yeah.
just oh well,
Pe-
that's the way it is.
People need to fall on the swords, big style here.
Said it
It's
before, we need a revolution, man. I've had it.
I think we do. I think we do. Anyway,
I've had
listen,
it.
I will undoubtedly get enraged if we talk about this anymore. Do you know what? I haven't watched the drama program deliberately yet
I haven't either.
because even the information that I've got from the news, I watched the panorama program. It was on last night, I think, or the night before. I think I watched it last night. First screened in 2022. That got me seething. And I just think if I watch that, do you know what? If I watch that drama program either on my laptop or on the telly, the screen of either is going to have something thrown at it. I'm just appalled at the way some human beings can act. But I mean, that's nothing compared to what's happening in Gaza. That's another thing. This witness, this bloke who I invite to view the planet and tell me what he thinks, I want to see his reaction and just ask him to make a judgment on the human race. Too heavy for a bike podcast, I suggest. You need to make me smile, Bruce.
We are a funny species for sure. We're capable of
Peculiar,
so much.
Yeah, bad stuff. And so much great stuff.
That's what I mean. We're capable of so much kindness and generosity towards each other. Complete random strangers. I promote this all the time in this podcast. I've seen it with my own eyes. People are awesome. But we're also capable of horrific things to each other for no reason. Reason other than either what we've been told or we don't know something. So we'll just,
we need to start
stuff to each other.
We need to start a new planet. Good guys only. Do you think we'd get a ticket? If that was the entry criteria?
Do you know what would happen though? Do you know what would happen? Eventually, you'll get cunts in there. Eventually, it'll happen because that is human nature. We're tribal, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. We're flawed. We're flawed. We're flawed as a species.
If you have 10 of you together, you can kind of get on with things. Once that becomes 100, 1,000, 10,000, you're just going to get people that are like, he's got 3 bits more than I've got. I want them, or this is mine. What have you got? I want that as well. That's just human nature, isn't it? We're tribal pack animals. It's going to happen. Anyway. Right, so have we done religion yet? We've sorted politics, Gaza, aliens.
Sorted it. I don't know. We've given it a brief mention.
We have. Let's not go there anymore. Right, Mark from Leeds. Chuff that Mossy is on the podcast. A true legend. Have you heard of Mark from Leeds? Near Leeds.
Well, hang on a minute. I have met lots of Marks. I haven't always asked them where they're from, so maybe I man.
He'd tell you he's Mark from Leeds.
He needs a surname, date of birth, and national insurance number for me to identify him fully. Go on.
He says, Chuff that Mossy's on the podcast, a true legend in the world of motorcycling and fits in very well with the barn pots over at the 44 Teeth stable. My question...
Thank you for that compliment.
Has Bruce ever told you his candle story? Sorry, Bruce, I'm laughing writing this out. Cheers, MFL. I must have mentioned the candle story.
Well, do you know what? I'll tell you, I've got a fairly vivid and fertile imagination, and it is sending me terrible images.
No, you'd be about right.
Images. Is it?
Right.
Should I? Well, I'm disturbed at the sort of title of this.
I will attempt to be as concise as I possibly can, right? So we can move on to the next one.
will it be suitable for
Oh yeah, yeah. I've told this
public
story many
broadcast?
times on here, many
Go on
times.
then. Go on then.
It was my first ever lads European bike trip. So I'd just
Okay.
passed my tests about 2008. Me and a couple of mates, we jumped on our bikes. We all passed within a few months of each other. We all
Yeah.
had sports bikes, and we were just like, "Yeah, let's go!" Boom. So you're just young, dumb, full of cum. Boom. We get in there. We're doing like 18-hour days. Let's do 600 miles. Who cares if it's raining? Who cares if it's -10? So we got into Europe. And we found this. We just rode till it was dark. It's about 9 o'clock at night.
What were you on, Bruce?
A jigsaw though.
Jigsaw. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So
That comfortable milliliter.
that's the one. I love them. I
And they're
love
all
them.
right,
I love
aren't
'em.
they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're all right.
My mate, for some reason, my mate's quite posh, Turner, and he said, "Oh, there's this lovely village. It's one of these bomb villages. I'd really
Yeah.
love to see it." So we're like, "Yeah, okay, all right, okay, let's just go." So we get to this village. It's pitch black. Everything's shut, more or less. We get into the hotel, sort ourselves out, say to the lady at reception, is there anywhere where we can get some food? And she was like, "Well, there's one restaurant, but you'll probably be closing. You'll have to be quick. It's just over the green."
Remind me, where are you in France, or have you gone further?
France, right near the border with Belgium. It's right over that way.
Yeah.
So it might have even been in Belgium. But anyway,
That's not very far, Bruce. What did you do? Did you swim over or something?
proper zigzagged all over, like we did probably a good 600 miles. So that shows you
All
what
right,
sort of
okay,
route that
all
we were
right.
doing
Yeah.
all over the place.
Where did you start from? Aberdeen or something?
Leatherhead, Rikers.
Yeah, that's not a million miles from Dover, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
How many
So
times did you break down?
how many what?
How many times did you break down, or how much time did you spend in the boozer? Actually, you're just let me make a note of.
He's got his notepad out.
Well, I'll tell you why. Right, CX500 to no, I'm not giving away anything there, and GT750 Rouen. Right, carry on.
And
Sorry for interrupting there. Go on.
You've still got James's Franken bike as well. You've got to answer
yeah,
that one.
I know. That's tricky. That one. What I might have to do is just get a bike magazine, rip one of the pages in half of one bike, and the back half of another bike. So that wasn't very funny. Scrap that. Edit that out.
Nothing's edited out of this, mate. Nothing.
Oh dear. Okay.
Right, back to my candle. We go into this restaurant. The bloke is literally just shutting up shop, and he basically says, "I can do you steak and some beers. Is that okay?" So we're like, "Yeah, spot on, lovely job." So we sit down. He brings some beers over, and then he brings the bowl of bread over, and he brings over these 3 pots.
Yeah.
Walks away. So we tuck into the bread and we're scooping the stuff out the pots onto there, munching away. We're starving. We've not eaten all day, so we basically demolish this basket of bread and the 3 tubs of stuff that he put down. He comes back to the table and he was sort of just looked at us really weird, and he was like, "Do you want more bread?" So we're like, "Yes, please. Yeah." So he's okay, more beer. Yeah. So he goes away, comes back, brings some more beer, another bowl of bread, another 3 pots of the same stuff, puts it on the table, and then he lights the 3 pots. They were candles. We've just eaten 3 candles. We thought it was like cheese or something. Like eating it, thinking,
it taste, for God's sake? Wasn't the clue in the taste, the rancid taste?
It was a bit bland. But I'll tell you, it's not. I mean, I think I've probably eaten worse cheese. It was just
as candles go, it wasn't bad.
Yeah. So he just sort of shrugged and looked at us. English.
What was your neck shit like, for God's sake? Did it come out?
And I have horrendous guts, but I don't remember there being any adverse effects at all. I think maybe we sorted it with the amount of booze that we chucked down our neck. We certainly paid his bills that night, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh, right. Good for him. Mind you, that's what I love about Europe. They've got a much more open mind, particularly about bikes. How many, you wouldn't get in quite as many hotels, maybe more these days, at that time of night. Had you booked into there, or do you had booked it? Yeah.
We'd booked a hotel because we knew we were going to that village, because that was a place he wanted to go to.
He said too late for grub, but if you go down the road.
Yeah. So we hadn't booked the restaurant. We just sent us across the green to it.
I don't see that happening in the UK in too many places, particularly in the days when I first started. There was a
Yeah.
bit of an anti-bike sort of attitude amongst society, really.
They do
Uh,
still
and it,
get nervous because I book hotels up for my tour. I do the tours with Simon Weir, so I
yeah,
book up hotels, and we do 15, 15 people at a time when we go away.
yeah,
And when you phone up a hotel and say, I need a room for 15, and they're like, okay. I think initially they hear my accent and they're like, are they pikeys? Are they travellers? What's going on here? And then they say, what's the occasion? What is it? And I just go, it's a motorcycle tour. And you either get them going, oh, a group of bikers, and they think food, beer, happy days, or they're like, oh God, right. And I'm
yeah,
like, look, we're all about 50. Don't worry about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Most of them are
It,
accountants. We'll be
Imagine,
fine.
it is funny, isn't it? All you have to mention the age. We all ride BMWs. We ride
Yeah.
GSs.
Yeah, yeah,
I bet they probably stop you from coming because you're going to be
yeah.
too fucking boring.
That's it.
Just joking, just joking. Don't get a monk on.
Best bikes in the world.
Can I tell you about a late arrival story? Mine was in Yugoslavia. Very first time I left these shores on a bike to do a bit of European travelling was on my CX 500. It was my dispatch bike. Anyway, me and Julie, my girlfriend at the time, set off. I was super nervous and apprehensive about the whole deal. I was one of these who thought riding on the other side of the road and not,
Yeah,
just everything was just going to be insurmountable to me. I couldn't have been more wrong. It's
yeah.
great and it's not that difficult. But I had this trait back then. I think it was because of the job. I used to love doing loads of miles. And for her sake, I should have been wrapping up at about 6 p.m., if that, every night,
Mhm.
because nothing was booked. It was all on spec. And anyway, we kept going into the darkness, right? Do you know what? It was summer months. It must have been about 10:30 by the time we got to this campsite. See how well I treat my women here.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, there was no one around, so I think we'd maybe stopped for something to eat beforehand, hence making it so late. But we pegged up on this campsite and thought we'll just do the signing on and the paying
Are
in the
you are
morning.
you still talking about a tent here, Mossy?
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we woke up the next morning to find out, and don't get too excited about this for reasons I will reveal. We were on a nudist campsite,
Mhm.
or at least this campsite was having a nudist gathering, but I never saw a heavenly body at all. Most
That's
people,
funny, bacon.
I tell you, it was not good. There was a lot that you can only imagine, a lot of old people. I was just a
Oh, aye.
youngster at the time. And they'd obviously been drinking for about 100 years, given the size of the bellies. Well, let's not get too gruesome, but all I'm saying is you would never see them on the front cover of any fashion bag or
They never
not even.
are they? They never are. You think, oh, nudist
There,
beach?
there was
No.
no career in porn for any of these bodies, I'll tell you. So we just do you know what? I don't know if
What's this porn you speak of? What's this?
well, somebody was telling me actually that people get it on screen for money. So yeah, that was a bit of a shocker, that, but it wouldn't have been so bad if it was bloody bodies like Rita Ora who were like
Oh, you're still on the Rita Ora
or
kick, are you?
something about her, definitely.
Are we done with the nudist campsite?
We're done with the nudist campsite. Let me run this by you, mind you. Once I went down to Spain to watch the Grand Prix at Jerez. Anyway,
Hmm.
me and my brother went down on GT 750s, big fat Kawasaki shaft drive, done about 3 to the gallon. Uh, Not the best bike ever made, but good enough to get us down there. But we had this plan. That's far too complimentary. We went for lunch in Rouen in north of France, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And we dicked about there for so long that when we came to look at the map and just how far away it was from where we really needed to be at the end of day one, we realised, fuck man, we're going to have to put some miles in here, big
Yeah.
style. So we got the order route, just kept going. And bit of a snack over the border in Spain, went into the Pyrenees. Road started getting really twisty, pitch
Hmm.
black. I'm starting to fall asleep. I pulls over. I said, Pete, if we don't find a hotel here, I'm crashing. I'm bollocks. We've been at it all day. I'm just not quite up for doing any more, you know. So we pulls up at this petrol station just north of Pamplona.
Hmm.
And we said to this guy, I used to know a bit of Spanish. And I just said, look, is there a hotel nearby, you know? And he just pointed over the road. He said, that one there. Anyway, it's this very big and grand looking hotel. And A, it looked completely closed, and B, it looked far too posh for the likes of me and my brother on our scruffy GT 750s and dress. We looked like a couple of yobs who'd been riding for like 10,000 miles,
Yeah.
you know, on this stint, never mind just a few hundred. Anyway, he said, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, let me come over with you. So he phones the night porter. Night porter comes to the door, said, yeah, in you come. He carried our baggage for us. And it was one of the first lessons I learned in just how much more hospitable
Yeah.
Europeans are towards motorcyclists. They don't make a judgment.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
go, these are two guys needing a bed for the night. Let's make some money. Let's make them happy. Bosh.
Absolutely. I
So,
think Europeans are just much more open and aware
oh,
of
totally,
bikes, aren't they? Totally,
totally.
as you just said, they're much more accepting of it. It's more part of their lives, isn't it?
There's an argument to say that they're much better people.
Mm.
I think, look, they're a lot more. They move about, don't they? They travel, they get educated from that
Mm.
travel. They're just much more worldly and, as you say, open-minded. You know, it's just less prejudicial. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we, some of us, think we're a bit more special than we are over here. You know, I think we still think that we've got the British Empire.
We've got an
Uh,
empire. Yeah, there is a bit of that, isn't there?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
from
it's
certain
no, I
elements.
don't
Yeah.
care for it. I don't care for it.
No.
What was
Right,
the
next.
question? Oh, yeah, it was
Uh,
the candles, wasn't it? There's
oh,
candles.
yeah, it
I think
was
that,
Mark
that
from Leeds asking about me candles.
I think Mark from Leeds. The tip to draw from this or these three stories is just get there on time and just look at the menu first. And if candles are on it, don't choose them.
Yeah. Just eat bread. Don't put anything on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, next one. Nick Bennett. How you doing, Nick? What happened on the launch of the GSX-R back in the day? The first one in the country didn't have wheelie control enabled. And I've heard this. This is a legendary story, is it not?
Well, do we think that Nick is referring to a particular photograph?
I think so, yes.
Did I tell? I don't know if I told this story. Did I? No, I told you
No,
where I told this
we
story. I
we
was talking
alluded to it, but we never got to cover it.
Now, one of the things I was going to ask you, and I should do this at the end, but I can't be asked waiting. I've got a lot of pictures to support some of these stories I'm telling.
Okay.
A lot of pictures. I've got some pictures, and I've certainly got this picture, the famous picture. It's one of the best. It's certainly one of the best I've got of me. I nearly said riding a bike there. Here's the deal. Let me tell the story from the start. Right, I'm doing a test with two wheels only. Do you remember that magazine?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I remember seeing it.
Okay. But it was great back then, actually. There was loads of money, and sports bikes were the big thing. And
Hmm.
the big test, the very biggest test of all, was the sports bike of the year test, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we just elected to use the Japanese bikes: R1, GSXR, Thau, Blade, and ZX. It must have, was it a, what did I do this? Must have been a 10R, ZX 10R. Anyway, the deal was we'd do the road part of the test, and Neil Mackenzie and James Whittam, who were affiliated to the mag, they would take them on track once we'd finished with our 2-day gig.
Yeah.
Anyway, bear in mind that, and this is a really pertinent point, this was a GSXR 1000 K3, and there were only two of them in the country, right? Two press bikes. Production bikes had not arrived. All very pertinent, this. MCN had the other bike, and they were away somewhere in Europe doing their test. and we were up in the Midlands doing our road shots. Anyway, we were with a photographer, and he's a lovely man. I'll say this. His name's John Noble. He's a very passionate man. Let's put it this way. And when you give him a camera, this is a test of diplomacy. He's a man that wanted to do the very, very best job that he could. And you and your wishes weren't always high consideration.
Priority. Yeah.
Anyway, we'd done a load of pictures, but we wanted to do some wheelies at the end of the day. And the sun was going down. The problem with doing these tests when we used to, early part of the year, I think it was due to get dark at about, I don't know, 6:30 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we must have been just an hour away, and the light was starting to fade a bit. Anyway, I'm on this GSX-R 1000, and before John has set his cameras up, I've just done a few, and man, it's a great bike to wheelie. I used to be good at them back then, and I'm just pouncing about, getting my eye in, so to speak. And he's dicking about. I said, John, for fuck's sake, man, the light is going. You need to get on with this. And then another pertinent thing occurred. There was a bloke walking his dogs where we were going up and down doing wheelies, and instead of shouting at us and saying, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Oh, what are you up to?" He saw this sort of van, bikes, cameraman. It looked like a bit of an event,
Mm.
So he quietly said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, look, we're just journos. We're doing a bike test. We're just going to do some wheelies for the camera." He said, "Oh, is it on the car watch?" I said, "Yeah, man, you feel free." I think it was something like the third or fourth pass. I was whopping it up in second, and it was absolutely easy and super controllable to do that. But by error, I did the same thing in first, and it just reared up so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be able to see when you post the picture that I will be giving you in due course just how high this thing had got so quickly. You can't tell the speed, actually, but believe you me, it was at 12, well, it was at 1 o'clock, unfortunately.
No saving that.
Man, I'm on board going, do you know how things slow down? When it's only when you think, do you know what, there's a fair chance of crashing here, that things slow down to the point where you go, well, you do or you don't. And I definitely didn't think I could, especially when I thought to myself, do you know what, Mossy, you're not saving this. I think this is the end. Anyhow, sure enough, it goes right over, and amazing set of circumstances. I let go of it, and it runs forward, and it catches fire.
Oh.
You can see from the picture, I was dragging the titanium end can. And because there was a load of fuel absolutely pissing out the fuel cap, because it was upside down for quite a while before it actually hit the deck.
Yeah.
The fuel ignited. There's this massive fireball, and I've got my brand new Alpine Stars leathers, boots, and gloves on. And I've been dumped on the ground watching this thing catch fire. And I'm just going, can this get any fucking worse? And anyway, luckily for me, I think luck needs to be put in context, because, luckily for me, the fire went out. It was like the vapor had caught fire, and it just sort of. I'll send you some out of focus pictures of the fireball. Yeah, that just sort of there was like this explosion of fire, and then it just went out. It finished. But the bike, oh fuck me, it was in a sorry state. Sorry state. Bloke with a dog.
He's loving it. Thought it was Hollywood. Do it again. Flip it.
I mean, John Noble, Digi Cameras, he looked at that picture. I think he phoned everyone he knew on Earth to say, look at this. It's one of the best pictures I've ever seen. Johnny's a very, very good photographer, but I'm sure he's telling this story to this day. As indeed I am.
Anyone in the industry, like any journos in the industry, if your name comes up say there's three journos there, and your name comes up. Two of them will go. Remember the Jigsaw Thou? Everyone talks about that. Everybody.
Anyway, right, when I stop sliding and start considering the reality of what I've just done,
Yeah.
I have just wrecked on the biggest test of the year. The day before we got to hand the bikes to, it was the day, not the day before, the very soon before we got to hand these bikes to the superstars known as Whittam and Mackenzie. Wreckage. That's all I've got to offer them. Wreckage, and there's no spares. There's no replacements.
Oh no!
The job is fucked. That's the end of it. Anyway, we debated it. Me and lovely John Urry, word for John Urry, very nice man. We went and had a meeting in the nearest pub, where I repeatedly stared into my beer, going, "Fuck, what have I done? What have I done? This is the end," you know. Anyway, it's funny, just thinking, fascinating process. I sometimes do it. I started thinking about, and I knew Les Pearson. Les Pearson is a big name in bike racing. He's been
why do I know that name?
A really good guy. I think he might be I think he's still with Paul Denning.
Right.
Doing World Supers, I think. But Les, lovely man.
Yeah.
He was at that time BSB mechanic for the Crescent Suzuki team.
Okay.
Anyhow, I sort of scratched me chin and I phoned him up, thinking he might be able to help. You know, best call I could ever have made. I says, "All right, Les." Well, in fact, no, I dial him up, and I knew him, so he knew my number on the screen. He says, "All right, Mossy, how's it going?" There was a pause, and I just said, "Had better days, like, had better days. Hear me out." I said, "Look, I've just made a proper mess of a GSX-R 1000 K3. He said, "What do you need?" I said, "Look, tank, fairing,
a
engine,
GSX-R 1000 K3.
exhaust, you know." Anyway, "I can help you with that." I said, "How can you do that?" And anyway, he was looking after Kageyama and Reynolds race bikes. They had 4 pre-production bikes delivered to Crescent. They rip off all the road bike bits.
Yeah.
And he just said, "Send the van down, out you like." So all that church going that I clearly do on a regular basis paid off on that agreement. So that is, so yeah, it's funny. I don't have time to tell you this amazing story that Simon Pavey told me about a couple of really bad turns for the worse that happened to him while he was competing in the Dakar. But he said something that will always stick with me. He said, even when it's gone to shit, just remain hopeful, think of a plan, and if you do that, at least you're standing a much better chance of giving up and saying, that's it. And that's what I did. And Les, luckily, that was the best possible. I couldn't have phoned a better bloke.
So what'd you do then? Like, you had to rebuild the bike that night, effectively. Frankenbike it.
No, we sent the van down pronto. I don't know if we postponed the track test. I don't think we did. But we had a day to fix it.
Right.
And you'd have to ask somebody else. I just crash them. I don't quite know, but the test got done with that bike. Wow. It got repaired. You know? It might have needed. I don't know if they had silver bodywork on. Might have been blue and white in the final test, in the pictures on the track. It got sorted.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that blue and white. I remember those bikes. Those,
man, amazing.
Beautiful, weren't they? Just gorgeous. Yeah. That was my poster bike. The blue and white Jigsaw was the poster bike for me. I didn't even ride bikes at the time. Didn't really have much of an interest in them. But the Jigsaw Thou was just something that I had a picture of one, and it was like, one day I want one of them. And eventually,
when did was it 2001 the first one came out? It was the K1, wasn't it?
The K1, that'll be 2001. Before that was the old the S-Rad, the big slabs, wasn't it? Before that,
Well, the 750 was their premier bike, wasn't it? Their prestigious bike, and then they built 1000. I remember going with Superbike to test that actually in June, the K1, and you just knew straight away that was the new king, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, what did you have a K1, Bruce?
No, my first bike was a K9000.
Ah, right, okay.
Then I had a K5 for really only about 3 or 4 months. I wish I'd kept it, but I had a
Yeah,
K5
good
for a
bike,
bit.
man. Good
Sold
bike.
that, and then I got an LO, then the L1, and the L1's the
Yeah,
one I took on the big trip. That's
yeah.
the one I've still got in the garage now. Yeah.
Now, did Neil ask that question?
Nick Bennett.
Nick, I beg your pardon, Nick. Sorry, but uh, I was about to say, Nick, was that all you needed to know? But he's not there, so that's a pointless question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all he was asking was about this because it's legendary, mate. I think anyone with any sort of connection to the industry has heard about Mossy and a jigsaw thou, right? What's the story?
Well, yeah. It made the front cover of a few mags, and it made a centerfold, I think, in Aussie MCM. But
Can you
I've
imagine
got
that now? Like we didn't have
I'm not,
mobile phones, and well, we had mobile phones, but they were the shit little Nokia little ones, weren't they? Imagine that now with smartphones the way we have it now, like 4K resolution cameras with
oh, I
five
know,
to
I
ten
know, I
times
know,
zoom and stuff.
I know, I know.
Jesus, it would be everywhere, wouldn't it? It was big
Well,
as it was.
I think John Noble made sure it was everywhere before before you knew it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, no, I mean, I think that was a bit of a highlight for him, not
yeah.
necessarily for the right reasons, but
Mm.
yeah, I mean, listen, if you, I'll give you a few more pictures as well to fit into this little phrase. If you're gonna crash a bike, do it in front of a camera. I've got some other spectacular falls. I don't know where I should do a point there,
Yeah, yeah,
there.
the
They,
one you just did will be fine. So I'll put them in the
they,
middle between us.
they're got to be this picture here. VAR, man,
VAR.
they're being there.
I'll do that. You did send me some pictures the last time, and I think I included a couple. But yeah, if you've got more, send them through, and I'll add them
Yeah.
in.
Well, did you have the GSXR 1000 wheelie crash flip?
I think I do. I think I
Yeah.
do. I need to have
Okay.
another
There's
look. I
that one,
think
the KTM Duke Stoppy, where I go out the front.
I don't think I've got that one.
Oh, that's a spectacular one. That's good. Do you want the story there?
Go on. Yeah, why not?
We're having a bit of a time of it, you know. I don't know where we were, somewhere in Spain or something, and I think we had KTM 690 Duke, KTM 690 Enduro, and what's the other one? There was three of them. There was a supermoto style one as well.
Hmm.
Anyway, we're having a whale of a time, and do you know what? I'm not the best wheelier, as you may have gathered. I used to be okay, but if you see people like Chad and Chris
Yeah,
Northwood,
yeah,
oh, man, they do it until the fucking petrol runs out. And it's easy for them. Easy. They just sort of they think wheelie and suddenly they're at 12 o'clock. I'm giving it
hmm
me bed. I eventually get there. I'm completely out of practice. Anyway, we're doing some stoppies for the camera on this KTM 690 Duke. I think we'd got to that stage. Anyway, I was doing these rollers and they were pretty good, but I brought one to a halt prematurely and it still had a bit of momentum in it, if you
yeah,
like.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a scientific word, sort of still had a bit of kinetic energy or something.
Kinetic.
And,
That's right. Yes,
and
it is.
because it was absolutely on its nose, but still traveling, I was in the shit. That's a very scientific term. If when I got about that angle, I realised that it was going to go a bit too high, I could have just let the front brake
Yeah,
off and let it come down again, or aborted it.
yeah.
But when you get like that, it doesn't matter if you let go of the front; it's going anyway. And
It's
sure
still
enough,
going.
I go right over. The bike slams me in the back,
Oh,
and it was funny actually. Chad was there. He came running up from miles away to ask if I was all right. But the photographer got to me just before, and he said, "Mossy, you're right, you're right." And I just went,
man, that could kill you. Bloody bike landed on top of you.
I had a back protector in.
Oh, that's
It
all right then.
slapped me. I'll show you the pictures. You can see it's whacking me, and it winded me.
Mhm.
So it's the second time I've been winded badly and have somebody come up and ask how I am. And all I want to say is, I'll be all right in a minute, but you can't. Have you ever been winded, Bruce?
Oh, aye, rugby days. Yeah, yeah. Horrible, horrible days.
I mean, as soon as you try to breathe in it, you can. Well, what is it? You can't, or it just
There's
hurts.
just nothing there, is there? There's just nothing. You're empty.
It's like trying to get a brake with no
Yeah.
brake fluid in it, isn't
You
it?
you
It's
want to
just
make
it's
a noise, but you've
futile.
got no air in your body to make a noise, and you forget to inhale, don't you? It's just like, oh, I don't know what to
Okay.
do.
Yeah, I was trying. I just couldn't get any in. But yeah, eventually came round. It was all right. But anyway, that was that one, and another
Which
one
was
that
nice.
yeah, it's always good to come out of the other side, isn't it? I'm just trying to. I mean, Christ, when I crashed at the TT, at some point I must have thought. I've got no memory of it.
Yeah.
Can't remember getting up that morning. Can't remember going to the paddock. Can't remember getting on the bike, starting. Certainly can't remember crashing.
Oh no, you've frozen. Hey, you hear me?
Now I can. I can. How do I get myself that big? I shouldn't.
Tickle it. There's pills for that.
Good answer.
Thank you very much.
Sometimes you're quite funny.
I'm
This
I'm,
is
t-
one of those occasions.
I'm 2 beers in now.
Oh,
See, this is
oh
it.
now what's he called that one?
This brewdog still. I'm finishing
Oh, it's.
off.
Do
I
you know
have
what?
four cans left,
I,
folks. Four
I
cans
have.
left.
You know what? It's time to admit I've never liked you. Never liked you. Instead out of absolute envy. We had a technical hitch there.
Yes, what happened?
I don't know. Are you? It just shut down.
50p in
It,
the
it
meter.
it did a bit of a KTM on me. It was clearly upset. It was clearly upset that I just
This is it.
flicked
This is it.
a KTM 690 and got its own back. Are we ready for another question? We'd finished
Yes.
what we were going to say.
We had done. We'd covered that one. I think that question was about the Jigsaw one, wasn't it? It was a Jigsaw crash. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nick
yeah,
Bennett's question. Next
yeah.
one's Andrew
Oh,
Gralton.
oh,
How you
oh,
doing, Andy?
oh, hang on. Can we? I wanted to say something mildly funny there, but
Oh,
I might have
apologies.
missed
Go
it.
on. Go on.
Well, we were talking about the GSXR 1000 crash, and I just wanted to say other stories of my crashes are available. Other, 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 many other stories of a lot of my crashes are also available. You can't try a joke twice, can you? You've got to do it
You
properly the first time. It's
you
not
should
funny.
do you should do your own podcast, Mossy, where you just sit yourself and talk about events and crashes and mishaps and stories from your
Well,
life.
can I give a bit of a plug here?
Hmm.
Do you know the lovely Dan Taylor? His can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, react as though you're even mildly interested in what I've
I'm
got to say.
I'm trying
I'm
to think.
talking
Dan
and
Taylor.
you're just going, do I care? Do I care what you say?
No,
I
I'm
don't
trying to
really.
think who it is in case is it
Right,
someone I've met?
English biker Dan is his
Oh God,
moniker.
yeah. I
Lovely
don't know him
bloke.
as Dan Taylor. I only know him as English biker Dan.
Yeah, okay. Lovely
Sorry,
bloke.
Dan.
Now, I never ever thought this would come about, but he has done a bit of an interview with me.
Hmm.
I think the lovely Sophie, his far too good looking for him girlfriend. I don't mind saying that. You're a lovely bloke, Dan, but you're punching. You're definitely punching. He is putting together a 2-part interview that I did with him about my life and times in biking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, watch that if you can. I don't know. Listen, motorbikes are not bad things to talk about. And if you've been bloody riding for the 100 years that I have, you sort of generate a few tales, don't you? You see a few things. So can I just say something?
Yeah, go on.
I talk too much, don't I? I talk too much.
No, not at all. I love it.
I found myself, I was really pleased at this, right? Just been to see me dad because he's recovering from a bit of an illness and he's well over 21. So he needs a bit of care and affection. I went to see him and I went to see a mate in Manchester. Now, I've got decent kit. You know, I've got Kai's kit, I've got heated grips, I've been doing it a while, so I know what the score is. But I'm on the top of this fucking mountain near Buxton, right? Taking pictures of my V-Strom, thinking, what am I doing? I had gloves off, right? So I could operate the bloody phone
Yeah,
to take the
yeah.
pictures. And I kid you not, I reckon that if I didn't put my bloody gloves back on within the next 30 seconds, I was losing my fingers. I'm exaggerating for clarity, obviously, but it was properly cooked. The roads are either salty or just slimy and horrible.
Aye.
And do you know what? I just said, do you know what? I don't care. I am still having a good time here. I'm on empty roads. I'm on a good motorbike with good tyres on it. I've got the kit. I've got a Kai's heated gilet, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think to call it a lifesaver isn't too much of an exaggeration.
Mm.
Do you know what? I walk my dog in it. I sometimes sleep in it. If I'm in a chilly environment, particularly if I go camping, it goes with me everywhere.
Have you got the
And
battery operated one then, or the one you plug
well,
it?
I can do both.
Both,
But
yeah.
I like the battery because I like the battery option or using the battery option because I don't have to plug it into the bike
Yeah,
and do this, this business. Oh, fuck, I've left it in again as it snaps open.
yeah.
I fear breaking the connection. Basically, I'm useless, so I like to be as fully independent of the bike as I can. But yeah, toasty bit of kit. Really, really good. Do you know what? I've had a fair bit of kit in my time, but I think that might be the most effective. I mean, I've had a few RIs and shark helmets become very effective over the years, of course,
See the previous
and become,
story, yeah.
and become well worth. Yeah, here's the funny, that RI I was wearing in that GSXR 1000 wheelie flip,
Aye.
never touched it.
Really?
Never touched it. Never touched it. Everything else, bollocksed. Gloves, leathers, boots, fresh on that morning, all not totaled, wearable, but needing repair. Helmet, never touched it.
Bloody hell.
Whereas, do you want the other helmet damage story very
Go on,
quickly?
yeah. Quickly, yeah, all
Do you
right.
know do you know who Rick Chart is?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Lovely man.
Him I do know,
Now,
yes.
I haven't dealt with him for ages. Hello, Rich. I hope everything is good with you. I must give him a call, actually. Fuck, it's so easy to lose touch with people.
Isn't it?
People that
Yeah.
you just love and respect and adore so much.
And
They
especially
just,
now with social media, because like you see them on social media, like Rich, you might see something on social and you might like it or something like that, or you have a little WhatsApp
I
group,
need,
don't you? And,
I, I need to
but it's
follow him. I don't do that.
yeah, but it's not
But
like
anyway,
the one-on-one sort of contact you used to have with
well,
people.
but I haven't even said hello to him.
Right.
Here's the
Yeah.
deal, right? He used to be my number one choice of helmet painters. You're lucky in this game. You don't just get a helmet. You have somebody paint it for you,
Mm.
And anyway, so I reckon this was about the 8th one he'd done for me, and it was the best yet. Lovely Shark Race R Pro. In my design, little mossy names on the side. Do you know what? On the way home, I was constantly looking at it in the mirror, giving it the big, God, I look good in this.
Yeah.
It's his best job. Now, because I know him and his family well, I always used to go there, sit down, have tea, chew the fat. And strangely, we talked about crashing. It's an inevitable subject, isn't it, when you're talking
Mm.
about bikes? And it is for me because I've done so much of the bloody stuff, crashing that is. Anyway, sure enough, I'm riding home and I'm going down the Foss Way. It's a great route. It's not the best road in the world, but it goes through some very scenic little towns. You get to where you're going a bit sharpish, but it's not a boring motorway. There's places to fill up, have a pee. And on this occasion, I thought it was a balmy sort of evening. I reckon we're on about it's about 7:30 or something. Stopped to fill up on a V-Strom 650. And I'm in a good place because of this helmet. It's amazing how little things like that make a difference, isn't it? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You buy some new gloves, new boots, new helmet, new bike. There's a certain, the feel-good factor.
That's it.
Anyway, I had that in massive quantity. Anyway, as well as filling the bike, I thought I'll have an ice cream. Let's just enjoy life. Let's extend this moment of enjoyment, you know. Anyway, time came, get back on the bike, and I kid you not, precisely 10 miles later, it's not dark, it's warm, the roads are dry, I've got good gear, you know, I've got a good motorbike that's got good tyres on it, I know what I'm doing, I'm not going mental, and suddenly I'm having a big crash. And it was like that. It was like, hang on a minute, I'm crashing here. What the
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
crashing.
yeah.
What? There was none of this, oh man, I've messed this up. I'm going in too fast here and suddenly you lose the front. Or, oh, I'm up here. I wonder if I'm going to save it. There was no apparent reason for me crashing. Now, what's happened is a deer has run out on me
Oh,
at point blank range. And I might have been just glancing at the mirror or the clocks or something, but I never saw it. And I hit this thing just naturally,
oh,
just start cartwheeling. And I totaled this helmet. It's total. I've made
oh.
such a mess of it. It's funny, you know, a passenger in a car coming the other way witnessed this crash. And we know from our own experience of watching racing or whatever, crashes can look horrendous, can't they?
Oh, mhm.
And if you're not used to them, which she wasn't, she gets out and she comes up to me. She's, my God, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you all right? And I said, look, just give us a minute, give us a minute. And I'm going through the motions to see if I've bust anything.
How's my
I said,
helmet look?
say again.
How's my helmet look?
I wasn't concerned about that just then. I'd obviously taken a bit of a kicking. I was a bit
Yeah,
sore, but I
yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to see if there was any, oh, you bastard, I've busted that. Anyway, she said, are you sure? Look, are you worried? She was starting to get on my nerves. I said, look, done this before. This is not my first rodeo. And anyway, she was lovely, but God, she was really shocked.
Do you
I
know
kid
who
you not.
I am?
No, I wasn't trying to say that. I was simply trying to say I'm not brand new to crashing.
No, I know,
You
yeah,
know,
I know, yeah, yeah,
I just need to go through a bit of a procedure. You know?
yeah.
Just leave me alone. Stop caring for me just for a minute. And I was really lucky, actually. Coppers turned up and sort of closed the road, or at least marshalled the traffic. Lots of people stopping and helping, you know, offering to help. Really good. You know, when you see a good side of the human
Mm,
race,
yeah.
definitely saw it. And yeah, then the ambulance turned up, and I gave it the big proud, oh, I don't need you. She said, look, how are you? I said, look, I'm a bit knocked about, but I think I'm good to go. Well, I'm not good to go because
Oh,
the
Mr.
bike's
Moss, we meet again.
Will it be this time? Uh, anyway, they insisted on taking me to the local hospital. I think I went to Cheltenham or something. It's kept me in overnight. It was perfectly fine.
Yeah,
But no, how can I do it? That was in the days when ambulances used to arrive.
yeah, when they turned
You
up,
know
yeah.
what? If I did the same thing now and I had got hurt, might be a different story. You know what? It's
Hmm.
something I bear in mind. If you're going a bit sharpish or it's a bit slippery or there's some sort of, you know, when the alarm bell goes off a bit, you know,
Mm,
mate, you need to be careful. It
yeah.
goes off a bit more readily now because your chances of getting scooped up off the road quickly, unless you're in the centre of London, perhaps.
Maybe not
Yeah,
even the centre of London.
successfully. Yeah,
I
maybe
noticed
not.
it obviously my previous life in the old Bill. I remember, you know, sort of 2000 to 2010 sort of time, maybe even like 2015 up till about then. Like if we called for an ambulance, a scene, you know, shooting,
Yeah,
stabbings, car
yeah,
accidents, whatever it was, if you called for an ambulance as a copper, they were there in London. They were generally there within the minute. You know, they were bang, they were there, no problem at all. Stunning. And I used to have like mates who worked out in the constabularies, out in the counties and stuff, and they used to speak, you know, waiting half an hour for an ambulance, and I'd be like, "You're kidding? Like, we're not even a minute, 2 minutes, and you might have two turn up." Well, it all changed. I remember it changing sort of 2015, 2016 time. And you'd be like, oh, it's going to be 10 minutes. And in central London, you'd be like, what do you mean 10 minutes? That's a
I
disgrace.
mean,
And then
people
I remember,
must be dying.
well, there are, because I remember like by the time I left to 2020, you could be waiting 45 minutes for an ambulance. And this
I
could
mean,
be somebody. I had a guy have a heart attack one time. I was coming back from I'd been on the post of an embassy somewhere, and I was heading back to the base for the end of my shift. I've got all my guns and everything on me, and I'm just driving the van myself down it's out West End, Mayfair, out that way. And I got flagged down and jumped out, and some guy had been at an office Christmas party, big guy,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he'd had a heart attack. So he's still conscious, but he's having a heart attack, and he was on the pavement. So I'm there doing my sort of scene analysis, having a look, and I was right. Okay,
Yeah.
called for an ambulance. Said, look, he's having a heart attack. I think, well, he definitely is having a heart attack. The guy had a history of heart conditions and stuff. So I relayed all that, and then they basically said to me, 45 minutes for an ambulance. I'm like, the guy is having a heart attack
Well,
as we
you're
speak.
condemning him. You're
And they were
condemning
like,
him to
we've
death,
got
aren't you?
nobody to send. And it was just, I couldn't believe in this day and age, in the center of a big metropolis city, there was no one available. And you're like, wow, we are in a sorry state of affairs. And I can only imagine it's worse now.
Yeah. Shall we
Anyway.
go back to death of a helmet? Death of
Oh,
a
yeah,
shark.
death of a helmet. Sorry. Yes, yeah.
Racing. What? I'll tell you a minute. Race R Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I phones Rich up. I says, I phoned him up the next day. I says, you know that lovely helmet?
Oh, no.
There was a pause where he clearly knew what was coming next. I said, look, I've crashed and I've destroyed it. And he said, that was an hour and a half. James Hayden's used to last longer than that. I've got the record for destroying a rich art, the fastest time for destroying a rich art helmet. I have
Brilliant.
that. I have that mug.
I've actually got one coming.
Actually, can I just have a little footnote to that?
Of course. Yeah. Of course you can. You can have what you like.
Right,
You're a legend, Mossy.
I've destroyed this helmet and paint job, right? A lot of money. I phones up Nevis. I says, about that helmet. And I said, look, I know this is really, really cheeky, but can I have another one? Anyway, he said, I'm going to have to ask the big bad boss about that. And back then, I used to be in the mags quite a bit. Said, yeah, fine. Gets another one just as beautifully done. And I go to Silverstone on the Nikon, right, wearing this helmet, and I crash it. So you have to try hard to crash a Nikon.
Someone asks about this story, so don't go into this. Someone
you really
goes,
have to be a good crasher to crash a Nikon. Anyway, right, it never touches the ground. Doesn't get marked at all. But strangely, and I tell you, there's a lot of psyche involved with bike riding and bike riding attitudes. I just went, every time I've worn this helmet, I've crashed. I am not wearing it again. So I've parked it. What I should have done was, when Sheen, do you know who Barry Sheen is?
Please say yes. Of course.
That might have been.
He's a Sillet Bang guy, isn't he? Oh, no, it's someone else.
Shall I just sort of giggle politely? I don't really understand what you said there. When he crashed at Daytona, have you seen the crash?
No. Which one? Which one?
Daytona crash. The one that made him famous. Watch the documentary. This is how Barry Sheen was introduced to the rest of the non-motorcycling world. It really is quite something. Okay, production qualities are not so good by today's standards, but Barry Sheen in the bike racing fraternity is the next big thing. But to the man in the streets, he's just this bloke, But this crash and his injuries sustained from it really, and this documentary covering the whole thing really made him famous. There's a debate as to what caused the crash. And I have it on good authority for a man who knows his onions that it was a bit of a mechanical failure on the bike, but whatever. The rear wheel locks right on the banking when he's doing about 175 and it just comes right round. There is an amazing picture. It's blurred and this bike is absolutely and utterly sideways with smoke pouring off the back tyre. at this speed, and I swear you can see his eyes behind the dark visor just
He
going,
knows what's
"Oh,
coming.
you
Yeah.
know, this is hurting." Anyway, what really he broke his femur very badly. His leg was up
Mm.
by his shoulder, and he came out. Watch it. It's a great documentary. Puts him on the map. He became a national celebrity, and he won. I think he won his. He rode a game about 6 weeks later after he'd been patched up, and he won his first world championship the following year. But he came out with a classic line. He's in hospital and he's in a bit of a state. I think they had traction back then.
Yeah.
There's lots of plaster and bandages and evidence of a big get off. And the nurse asks him how he is, or some doctor, and he says, "Well, I've lost a ton of flesh off my arse and my back. So I broke my femur very badly. I think he might have done a collarbone, a rib or something. I broke my wrist." And he listed a few other things, and he said there was a pause, and he just says, "Apart from that, I feel brand new." If you don't listen to that and laugh and become a Barry Sheen fan instantly, then you never will. Just that was the start of one of the most iconic sort of showbiz careers of a sportsman.
That's got to be available on YouTube to view that. I'm going to have a look for that.
I watched it fairly recently. It's about an hour long.
Okay, cool. I'll have a look for that then. Watch it. Nice one. What was I going to say? Yeah, you were talking about custom lids. I've actually got one coming. There's a. Do you know Paint Nation? Do you know Phil Dranfield, Paint Nation?
Ringing a bell. I don't know it.
He's another chap that does a lot of the racers. I think he does McGuinness's ones. I think. He does loads of them anyway. Apologies, Phil. Maybe he doesn't do McGuinness's, but he does a lot of the TT guys. And I think he was doing Tom World Superbikes. Tom Sykes. He was doing Sykes's lids for a while as well. But anyway,
sorry, go on.
But back in, I think it was 2020, he approached me about doing a custom design, and he said, "Look, how about we do a bit on the design process? Like how do you actually go about getting a custom lid?" Because that was his business at the time. So I did all that. But this was 2020, and obviously now we're now in 2024, and it's not arrived yet. And I kind of thought, well, maybe it's just not happening, because he approached me about it, and he was doing all this out of the kindness of his heart. So it's not like I'm a paying punter going, where's my lid? So I've never ever chased him up. Go on.
Can I let you into a secret here, Bruce? I think he's doing it for a bit of exposure, so he ends up painting a lot of other people's helmets. He
doesn't need my exposure. He doesn't need the business at all. The guy's run off his feet as it is. But a load of people have been saying, where's this lid? Is this lid ever going to happen, or what's going on? So I started thinking to myself, what if he's actually sent me the lid and it's never arrived? And he thinks I'm just being really rude and not saying anything about it. Yeah. So I kind of messaged him, and I was just like, "Phil, look, I don't want to be out of turn here, but have you sent that?"
It's been a few years. It's been a while. I was like, gone.
Have you sent this lid? Because nothing's ever arrived, and I don't want you to think that I'm just being ungrateful here. And he was like, "No, I've still got it. It's done. We just need to figure out." He's like, "We just need to figure out a time and a place to do the reveal," kind of thing. So that's something that we've just been working on. He now has a new job. He works for My Moto. He's now their media PR guy up there. So he's rushed off his feet. But I think it's happening early this year.
Still painting the helmets as well.
He does, but I think he only does the racers now. I don't think he does private custom work anymore. Maybe he does the odd one, I'm not sure. But he's certainly curtailed that a lot. But yeah, I cannot wait to see this design.
Have you got any idea of the design and what it's... No, he left it to him.
We had the initial consultation phase where we just sort of battered ideas off each other, and he did there's a whole video on it.
I need to pull you up. We had the initial consultation phase.
Yeah.
What the fuck
design
was it?
consultation, Mossy. I believe it's known in
We
the
had it.
trade. The trade.
We got some fag packets out. We scribbled a few designs on the back.
He
God,
actually had a proper piece of paper, and he sort of he did a couple of little sketches, but it was just the way his mind works. Like we'd bring something up, we'd start talking about it, and then you'd end up down this way, and then I would go, "Oh, that would be amazing. Would you be able to do such and such?" And then you'd be, "Yeah, but what if we did this?" And
yeah, yeah.
like he's
No, they're
painting a
very
picture in my head. I'm
they're
like, wow,
super imaginative, aren't they?
oh, stunning.
Super imaginative.
Stunning. I wish I had that creativity. But anyway,
Yeah.
I remember leaving that first meeting and just thinking, holy shit, I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. And I still can't
And
wait to see what it's going to look like.
and how long have you been waiting for it since that time? 2 years or more?
The three. I
Did
think
you say?
COVID
Uh,
had either just happened or yeah, COVID had just happened because we went to, I think it was the Leeds sports bike shop. We were
yeah.
there and they just opened, I think, back up again to limited public access. So that's where we
I
did
mean,
the sort of trying on different
will,
lids, and
will the helmet have passed its wear by date by the
it's
time
probably
you
out of
get
date by now. Yeah, I know. I'll have to send it to the folks over at Helmet Inspection, get them to do a little test on it. Can I still wear
it?
this?
Do you know what? I learned something quite recently. What kills a helmet? What's the thing that kills a helmet's life faster than anything else?
UV?
It's not that. I'm not saying
Dirt?
that doesn't play a part, and it's not necessarily dig it on. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have it looked at if you drop it on the floor, but the thing that kills the sort of integrity and sort of safety standard, its protective standard more than anything else, is all the stuff that bleeds out of your head. All
Yeah,
that
all the
sweat,
oils. Yeah.
it starts rotting that. What do you call that interior liner? There's an acronym for it, but whatever. That's the thing that
Shell? The
shortens it.
inner shell?
Yeah, but there's a three-letter acronym for it. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, it starts to rot it, and that's the thing, as much as the shell, that gives it its protective qualities. That's the bit that slows down
Aye.
and reduces the strength of the impact, isn't it?
Yeah,
I dare say
yeah.
you know this thing, yeah. But anyway, yeah, you sweating is what kills it. So,
And I'm a sweaty
so
as
as you,
well, Mossy.
yeah,
Last about 5 minutes with me.
Yeah, but as you haven't worn it, I think
Should
you'll
be all
find.
right.
I was asking about a helmet that I'd not worn, this Mossy Rep thing that I've got,
Mhm,
and he said, "No, that'll still be good to go because you haven't worn it.
mhm.
It's been stored in a cool, dark place."
Have
My
you heard
hand.
of the Helmet Inspection Company?
No, go on.
They're there's a company, a Scottish company. Oh no, it's a Scottish chap that set it up. But anyway,
Yeah,
you can, as Joe Public, you can send your lid off up to them. They'll send you all the packaging. So you package your lid up and you send it up to them, and they can run some tests on it, and they can tell you whether or not it's
yeah,
still okay to wear. So say you
uh,
drop your
yeah,
lid off
yeah.
the bike, or you're involved in an accident and you're not sure if you can wear it or not. Some of these helmets are like £1,000, aren't they, or
Oh, big
more now?
style. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, don't quote me on the cost, folks, but I think it's like 30 quid, 50 quid, something like that.
Right.
They can do
Remind me
this.
of the company. Remind me of the company again.
It's called the Helmet Inspection Company.
Right. Good work. And
These
where
are,
are they based?
I think the
In
company is
Scotland.
based up in the northeast of Scotland. I think that's where don't quote me on it, but I think that's
Yeah.
where the company's based.
You,
It's
you
basically,
ever,
it's two guys, a Scottish guy and then this professor, who specializes in like physics or something like that. And he was doing
okay. Yeah.
non-destructive testing of elements. And I think he was a biker. I've had Martin on he's been on the podcast before anyway to chat about it, the guy who owns the
Right.
company.
Good. Good.
And he told me about how it all set up, but it was a good few years ago that he came on. But anyway,
I should.
they sort of came
I should.
together and then, sorry, go on.
I should watch your podcast. Really, shouldn't I? I've learned so much.
People babble on for hours, Mossy. You'll get bored. Right.
Talking about things like what?
Life,
Go on.
politics, religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got a couple here. Debbie Clegg, she just says, you're a man on a brew time mission. Looking forward to this continued chat again. Loved the first one. Next one, Andrew Gralton. Hi, both. Just wanted to say thank you for the first chat. It's one of my favourites. Your chemistry is as good as the 44 teeth, lads. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Can I just say something? I'm amazed that people could have tolerated it for that length of time, man. I have not watched both the parts, you know. I mean, was it 6 hours?
Seven and a half, I think, in total.
Bloody Nora.
And I tell you what, Mossy, I think, yeah, it's the most downloaded audio podcast by a long way. The 44 Teeth Boys were the biggest by a long way, and then your one obliterates it, and then I think you're also
Alistair and Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, these people who watch it all the way to the end, these people who endure me and you for 7 hours,
I know.
Are they still alive? Are they in a padded cell somewhere?
I think it's. I mean, I can't believe people do it. I sit there once we've done the podcast. I sit and like a podcast will take me probably at least a day, if not a day and a half, to sit and go through it all and level out the audio, and then I go through it and go, right, this will be a good bit for a short or a reel for socials, So I'll look at, say we have a 3-hour podcast, then I might take anywhere from 2 to 8, 10 different sections of it, and I'll make little shorts that I can use on social media for like PR for the podcast. But I'll also go through the whole podcast and take little snippets of it, and I'll create like a little teaser of the whole podcast that's coming, a wee video thing. So by the time you've done all that, and then you create the videos and you add captions and you do all this sort of stuff, it's probably a good day and a half, if not 2 days, to get something like that. But when it comes to a 7.5-hour podcast, Jesus, that took a long time to go through.
You still posted it reasonably soon afterwards, though, didn't you?
Yeah, what I was doing is I was doing the audio the following week. So the audio would always go out on a Wednesday, the following Wednesday, and the video would go out the Monday after that. But what I'm doing now is, because the video has always been a lot less in terms of viewers than the audio was in downloads.
Why do you think that is? Is it just because it's a bit more demanding of your time, a video?
I think it's easier to listen to a podcast because you can come in and out as you like. You can just stop, pause it, and it remembers where you were. Whereas with a video, I think, like with a video, and say you're watching YouTube on your phone or whatever, the second you turn your phone off, then everything stops. It's not like with a podcast. The podcast will keep playing, even if even if you blank the screen out, chuck it in your pocket, the podcast will still be playing, whereas the video just stops. So, and plus, I think people just listen to the podcast because it came out on the Wednesday, and by the time the video came out on the Monday, they're like, oh, I've already listened to this, so why would they sit and watch? So what I'm doing now is I'm punting both of them out. That's my aim anyway, is to punt both out on the Wednesday, and I just want to see how it affects it. And I've just done the first one back after like a 6-month break. That came out on Wednesday, and I think even then the audio's still winning. The audio's still getting downloaded like 2 or 3 times more than in fact, a lot more than the videos. Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, it's a bit of work, but I really enjoy it. I've missed not doing these because I like to talk, and I just missed it.
It's one of the best things to do, isn't it? Do you know what? I did a test, and get this. I took a CRF 300L, a Vosges 300 Rally, a Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, and some Fantic 250. I can't remember exactly what that was called. I think the most powerful of the lot made about 24 horsepower. But we went to ride what seems to be called the Northeast 250, and it's this bit like the NC 500. It's a recommended route round the Northeast of England. And I had forgotten just how chatty Northeasterners are. And it was bloody lovely.
Jesus,
super friendly. Yeah, I'd forgotten though, because I live in Gloucestershire.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you can frighten people here by saying hello to them.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to look at them and say hello, and they go. You can see them going, "This man doesn't know me. I don't know him. What's he doing? What's he after?" You know, it's like this chatting to people. That's why I
Mm.
love pubs. Go up to people you've never ever met before in your life. Just talk under bollocks if
Aye.
you like. Talk sense if you like, or try to. I just like, having a bit of verbal interaction with people.
Yeah. We need it, I
But
think. I think we do
well,
need
man,
it, don't we?
essential.
Mm.
Essential.
I think because of everything that we've gone through over the last few years, where people have, we have got quite isolated, and some people perhaps haven't even come out of that yet. They're still
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
choosing to isolate themselves, and we
yeah.
need this contact. I think even this via video, I've really missed it. It's really quite cathartic. I think you just being able to chat with people, isn't it?
Big
I
time.
find it anyway.
Tell you a little story on that. I went to do the first V-Strom launch,
Hmm.
and I did it because Roland Brown's wife had broken her leg, so he couldn't go. Now, do you remember Roland?
No.
You know, so difficult to talk to. Yeah, we're trying to advertise how good it is to talk to each other, and you don't know 50% of what I'm trying to talk about. He was one
I'm
of
just
the
a
big.
fat bloke that fucking rode me bike. That's it. I'm not in the
Don't think
industry
I,
or
w-
anything.
I don't think I was prepared to be that complimentary in the way I described you. Anyway, he, do you know what? He's pretty much. He hasn't knocked it on the head, but he's turned it down a great deal now. But he was one of the biggest freelancers,
Mhm.
and I did. He thought he just said, "Look, can you do what I was going to do?" And I did it for about 10 magazines. Now, writing a road test 10 times, 10 in 10 different ways in terms of style, content, and the general point of what I was trying to say was the same. Obviously, I was talking about the same bike, but it takes a bloody long time.
Mm.
And I sat in my little man cave doing it for about 6 days on end. I didn't really leave the building. And then I went somewhere and just noticed that I was actually struggling to converse with someone. It's because I was slightly sort of out of practice, if you like.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And I reckon have you seen Tom Hanks' Castaway?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I reckon if you were in solitary confinement for a while, you would lose the art of conversation.
Mm.
You must practice shit, mustn't you, in order to stay on top.
I notice it because, like I said, I've not done this podcast for probably a good 6 months. It wasn't long
Oh,
after our episode that I stopped doing it just because I was
why?
so busy.
Why? Oh,
I was
right, okay.
so busy with my tours, and I don't know.
Were you were you so busy, darling? Is that what it
Yes,
was? You were
it's
so
terribly,
busy.
terribly busy, darling. I
Oh my
think
God, I
I
don't know how.
got.
I really don't. I haven't finished. I haven't finished. I
It's a
really
tough
don't know
life.
how. I really don't know how I coped having to ride off with all these tours with other motorcyclists over long distances. My God, it's a wonder I'm still here.
It's
It's
a
a
tough
wonder. It
life.
really is a wonder I'm still here.
You scoff, but it is tough. No, I was
I must
I
come on
think
one of these tours.
you're
I want
more
to
than
come on one of
welcome.
these tours.
You're more than welcome. More than
You
welcome.
have
I
to
do them
bring
with
me own
Simon.
bike.
Simon Weir. Yeah, you do. I'm afraid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't supply bikes. Um.
And do I have to supply petrol?
Oh, am I going to pay for your fuel? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm
Mate,
trying to
who
do
do you think
something.
I am? Bauer Media? No.
I
Um.
do believe you're telling me to Foxtrot Oscar here,
Yeah,
aren't
I'm
you? In
not. You're
polite
more than
fashion.
welcome. You're more than welcome to join us. More than welcome.
Okay, where are
But
you
I can't
heading
pay for
next?
your bike or your fuel. Sorry.
Where are you heading next?
Um. Well, I am off to Spain in 2 weeks to do something with Toro. March, I'm in the States
Bloody
for
hell.
about
What,
10
touring?
days. Yeah, but
Sure.
just myself. I'm
Yeah,
going over
got you.
there.
Yeah.
I fly into Cincinnati and then I'm going to do a road trip down to Key West via Daytona. I'm going to be there for the last weekend of Daytona Bike Week, so I'm doing
Can
that.
I just ask how your yacht and Ferrari are doing? Because you clearly must own those as well.
No, that is Mr. Mastercard is funding that particular trip. So yeah, we will. I am banking on the fact that everybody pays for the tours and nobody dies and takes me to court, and I have a little bit of money left that can pay off said credit card at the end of the year. Yeah, I just fancy something different because I don't really ride myself anymore. I don't tour
Yeah,
myself anymore. I'm
there's something
always
to be said for that.
yeah, and I miss it. I really
Hey,
do
hey,
miss that.
can I just ask this question before I forget it? You know, you did Kent to Wales and back recently.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Did you go through Gloucestershire? Do you
I
know?
followed.
Did you
I
go
f-
Oxford,
I followed
A40?
the is it A41 and then A40 something like that because
A40, yeah, yeah.
it was
You'll have
pissing it
gone
down with rain and
Oxford,
freezing cold, so I
yeah,
just stuck to the main road.
Cheltenham, yeah, got you,
Yeah,
got you.
I didn't do motorway.
Is this,
I just did the main roads.
yeah. Do you do it all in a day?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How many miles?
It's about 600 and something, I think. Yeah,
Oh, good for you. Is that on your
six
new
fifty.
new 1300?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. You stalking me? Yeah, it was. Yeah, 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 yeah.
You do fucking do these things to generate some attention, do you not?
I mean,
You-
that's a byproduct of it. I just I enjoy that sort of stuff.
well, you'd put it on Facebook, so that's how I
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
happens when you put things on Facebook. People learn, you know. They're not stalking you.
Do you know, I used to use Facebook all the time, and Facebook's my biggest platform. Like, there's a big following on there, but I just find it really difficult to use as someone that's putting content on there and
Yeah,
like when you're
okay.
having to interact with people because like the I have my page obviously for TeapotOne and then I have my own private personal thing and it's like if people I don't know how but people seem to be asking me questions and sending me DMs on both and it's all really quite segregated whereas
Okay. Yeah.
Instagram, it just
But
comes in as a DM and it's just nice and easy to work with. So I spend most of my time on Instagram, to be perfectly honest.
you do post stuff on that. I need to follow you on that then, don't I?
What, on Insta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I follow
Well, I
you
mean,
on Insta.
I don't post anything though, do I?
That'll probably be why. Yeah, 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 yeah. So you post over on Facebook then? Because I've tagged you like in
Do you know what? Somebody described me recently as a Facebook stalker. And that's what I do really. I look at what people are up to, you know. I
yeah,
mean, it's a funny old business. I tend to think nobody will be interested anyway.
yeah,
I mean, and I could have sent some stuff the other day. I rode up to the Peak District, like I said, really enjoyed it. It's a great place to ride a motorbike, even in winter. Saw a few friends. I could have put quite a few entries in there, but I'm sort of thinking, who the hell wants to know that I'm riding my bike
yeah.
or I'm eating fish and chips? I
I,
mean, some people go completely over the top, don't they?
I'm terrible for actually documenting stuff when I'm out on a bike. Like when I go out for a ride, I don't stop. I don't stop
You
and
just
take pictures.
want to
I'm just
ride, yeah,
riding.
yeah,
So like I
yeah.
finish a ride and I'm like, oh, I've got no pictures. Whereas you look at some other people that have been out and you're like, oh my God, those pictures are stunning. I've been there, but I've never stopped and taken a picture. It's just I
It's
just enjoy the ride.
there's a balance, isn't there? I mean, it's a
Mm,
massively time-consuming thing to
yeah,
do, isn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it really interrupts. I mean, don't forget, you can't just park up and take a picture. It's got to be in the right spot, hasn't it? It's got to
yeah,
be scenic,
yeah,
ideally safe, et al. You got to get that fucking camera out.
yeah.
You can lose just even 5 minutes if you do that 20 times.
Oh, aye,
100 minutes you've lost. It's
yeah.
can. I mean, what
And
time
it's
did you start and finish on that run, Bruce? That 600-mile run?
I meant to start, I think, at 3 in the morning, and I think it was I think it was more
3 in the
like,
morning, you start.
yeah, and I think
Oh,
it was because I was doing all back roads, and I wanted, I wanted to get. I was going to some friends' place over in Pembrokeshire to drop
sorry,
off a Christmas present.
are you claiming to have friends now?
Well, they're my
You're an
wife's
naughty.
friends.
You're an
They're
naughty.
my friends now,
You're,
but via my wife.
yeah.
Yeah, we have
What
some
do they
friends that
think?
live. Well, they weren't in.
Oh,
I got there and they weren't in. But
did you
yeah, I was
not tell
taking a
them?
Christmas present
Oh,
for them.
hang on. Did you tell them? Was that the problem? You told them you were coming,
My
and
wife
they
did
just
tell
left.
them I was coming, and they
And they
conveniently
just left.
left.
They
Cheers,
just
Max and
left.
Bus. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just west. You might have found them hanging from a nearby tree.
They were round the back of the garden, behind a tree, just poking. Is he gone yet? Is he gone yet?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I left. I think it was about 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that, and then I was home by 10 because I jumped on the motorway to get home. So I did back roads there, motorway home. So yeah, it was all right. It was okay. It's all right. Enjoyed it.
Sorry, what time? How many hours on the bike?
Hang on, I can tell you because it's on my Cali Moto. Let me fire up.
How good an app is that?
I love it. I love it. It gets so much abuse, but I really like it. I think it's a great bit of kit. Just got to wait for it to connect to the Tinterweb. There we go. 13 hours, 9 minutes, 605 miles.
And how did you feel at the end? Good to go again?
Yeah, fine, fine, fine.
Yeah,
Have you ridden this new, right? People are going to start throwing
no,
stuff at the screen. Not ridden the new GS.
no,
No, I love it. I've bought one, obviously,
yeah,
and I don't think there are any. I don't think it's any different comfort wise to the
yeah,
1250 or the 1200. I've
yeah.
seen people, I've seen the vids of people going, oh, it's quite cramped and blah blah blah. Oh, no, I don't notice any difference in the ergonomics at all, other
And
than the bike is a fucking weapon. It is
and you,
stunning.
what is it? What is it? 150 odd horsepower now?
100, I think
Or
it's
is it
145 or 148, something
145?
like
Right.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
Yeah.
still down on the KTM, but it
Yeah.
is rapid. Like the
Yeah.
acceleration is nuts. I was out on it today. It's just crazy, crazy.
Is it, is it proper gutsy as well? Is there a
Oh yeah,
response? Whatever.
yeah.
You,
From about 2,000 revs. So it's like the old one used to be about 3.5. That's when you started to feel it pull, and then sort of 4.5, 5, right through to about 6.5. That's where the main grunt was, wasn't it? On the old 1250 and 1200s. On the 1300, it's literally as you hit the throttle. So as you start putting the throttle on and it goes to just over 2,000, there's pull there. I mean, it's not wheeling at 2,000, obviously, but it pulls all the way through, right up through to the red line. It's
and big
beautiful.
gear is no problem.
Oh, no
Pulling
problem at
big
all.
gear.
It
Yeah.
will wheelie
Uh,
second, third, fourth gear, no problem at all. Off power, no bother. Allegedly.
why do people give you flack about GSs then? Has it still
Because
got connotations
of course it
with
does. Yeah,
those?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a boring bike, isn't it? It's a beige bike. And yeah,
Yeah, I
people.
wouldn't say that. I
Well,
wouldn't say that.
I'm the same. I will
Now,
gladly take that thing on the track. It's great fun.
it,
Great fun.
it is that like another bike you've hinted we're going to talk about? One of these bikes that people pass judgment on not having ridden it.
Yes. Everyone has an
Yeah,
opinion about the GS, haven't they?
yeah.
Everybody,
But
whether they've ridden it or not.
yeah, but that's the problem. Uh, you, listen, uh, you can't not like it or can't not rate it highly. Do you know what I did? I did a group test with the 1290 Super Adventure GS. Might have been an Africa Twin, whatever the rivals were at the time. And
Mhm.
I'm on this KTM for a few days, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, this is the bike.
Mhm.
Really good bike. And I'm thinking, this is the winner of this test. Anyway, GS comes along a couple of days later. I get on that and I went, oh, you bugger.
Mhm.
All things considered, it just beats every other bike, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The
Overall.
only overall, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm considering everything,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
no quirk, no, I don't know, just shit like fuel gauges and headlights and all the detail shit works as well as the engine does and the brakes do, and it's The only thing I really can't really fault, it's not the fault of the bike at all, it's its popularity. It
Mm,
just makes it a common sight. It is not an exclusive motorbike.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And do you know what?
It's the
I mean,
Ford Mondeo, isn't it, of adventure bikes?
it's probably a bit better than that, but I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's got the wrong connotations. Do you know what? I meet a few people on them that I don't care for. There's a bit of an arrogance and a
Oh
swagger,
yeah,
isn't there?
yeah. There is.
But
Yeah,
but so many people buy it. You're bound to have different sorts of people. It's an ace motorbike,
yeah.
simple as that. But
I've never hidden it that I think the best riding adventure bike, the best ride experience for me is the KTM. I think the Super Adventure
yeah,
S is
yeah,
just a
very good,
fantastic motorcycle to ride. But I wouldn't
very
buy
good.
one. I wouldn't own
I
one.
know too
Um,
quirky, well, too liable to fault
Purely
and,
because
and
the
failure.
ones the bikes I've had, which obviously come direct from KTM UK, have had issues. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
only one, the Super Duke R sadly shit itself, and that just turned out to be just a small washer that failed, so it dumped all the fluids on my garage floor.
yeah,
But with the Super Adventure S, it was just the electrical gremlins. So
yeah,
you're getting little error messages and dash warnings coming up,
yeah,
but it still
yeah,
goes. The bike still rides. But if that was
yeah,
my bike, I would have to take that to a dealership to get it fixed. And it was just coming up all the time. It was just really annoying me. But I'll put my hand up, and I know loads of people follow the channel, and there's people I'm friends with now who own KTM's and have never had any issues. Or if they have, they're lucky that they've got a KTM dealership, which is really good because that's hit and miss as well, really. So,
yeah,
but for
yeah.
me, the difference between the GS and the KTM isn't big enough, especially now with the 1300. It's not big enough to tempt me away from the whole GS ownership experience. Would I own a GS that's more than 3 years old and it's out of warranty? Probably not, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
need the parts, like when you need new parts, they're expensive as fuck. You are paying for
Bloody
that great
expensive.
service that you get through
Yeah,
BMW.
yeah.
But I buy bikes on finance, so effectively I rent them for 2 or 3 years and then chuck it in and get a new one. I know it's a waste of money,
So
but
PCP,
PCP, yeah, but
PCP. Yeah, yeah,
it allows me to not fork out 22 grand for a bike. It allows me to fork
yeah,
out money every month, and I get a brand
yeah,
new bike every 2 or 3 years with everything that
yeah.
comes with that. So that suits me. I did that with my Gixxers. I've done it with all the bikes that I've owned, so that works for me personally. Anyway, right. We're going well tangent there. There's two more questions for
Go on.
Patreon, and then we have all of the ones on Facebook and Instagram. We're doing all
Okay.
right here, Mossy. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Well,
We might,
how long have we been going?
um, geez, about coming up 2.5 hours now, I think.
Right, okay. I'm just trying to think where I would be if I'd ridden for 2.5 hours on a motorbike. The moon.
I love how you can think of different things whilst we're going through all these questions. I can't do that. I
I, I,
can't multitask like that.
I'm still trying to think which front end and back end I want.
Not a chance I'm going to answer that question. I cannot think about that.
I sort of want to, but it's bloody. I think splitting the atom might be easier.
Okay,
It'll
listen.
come to me.
Let's get these two out of the way, and then before we
Yeah,
move to the
yeah.
Facebook ones, we'll tackle that again. Right, Derek Rickett. Hi both. Mossy, what a legend. Question for both of you. What was your scariest and luckiest moment on a bike?
Oh, man. Great question and one that I can answer. I've got. I'll start. Yeah. Fucking hell. Do you know what? Absolutely perfect question for the
Yeah.
answer I'm going to give. Right. Once upon a time, I was a bit concerned, and it's funny actually that Carl Fogarty replica incident was something that triggered this a bit. I just thought, right, I'm testing all these bikes, and I'm saying things like I said about that Carl Fogarty bike. this bike might, this Ducati Carl Fogarty replica might cost £21,500, but it's worth every penny. And I thought about it later. I just go, fuck off, you silly bastard. You're getting more and more out of touch with reality with crap like that. And I went, I need to own a bike again. I need to buy it. I need to run it. I need to experience what happens, breakdowns or servicing. I need to know what it's like because I'm losing touch.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be writing for readers who own motorbikes.
Yeah.
So I bought this VFR. Anyway, it's got the link brakes on it. And I was doing a bit of a promo video with Bridgestone. I'd put some of the S20s on it or something appropriate. And there's a corner near Chipping Norton that I like using. It's a 90-degree corner, pretty fast. It's a bit tricky. You need to learn it to get the best out of it. But let's put it this way. I've done about maybe 8 passes. If people don't know what we do for photos, you pick a corner and you just keep going through it repeatedly again and again until the photographer gives it the thumb on, just one more. He gives you the nod that
gives up.
His work and your work is now done.
Yeah.
Now fucking stop going past me on that fucking loud motorbike. Anyhow, I come into this corner as a left-hander and I notice there's a bit of movement in the front brake lead, a lot of travel. Anyway, I don't know why, and I certainly don't know why, given what happened next, that I didn't just investigate that a bit or think about it. But I went round it as a left-hander, turned round, came steaming into it. You get over to about 80 mile an hour and you start coming down the box, and I thought, right, for the camera, for the video camera, I'm going to brake as late as I can here and try and just get it a bit out of shape. Yeah. Went for the brake and it came straight back to the bar. And because the brakes are linked, press the rear brake pedal, no pressure there either.
Oh.
Basically, this was an old motorbike with old brake fluid and I'd boiled it. I could have ridden it as fast as I dared on public roads from my house to Aberdeen and not have this happen. But if you brake repeatedly, again and again, like you would on a track day, maybe at Donington, it'd probably go. You'd suffer the same fate. Now, this is sort of answering the question in that question, those 2 questions with one answer really, because I was so lucky. Right, when you need to think fast, basically the brain goes, right, this is a crisis, son. You are not stopping here. This is a plan B that you need, and you need it now. I looked up, and there's a green lane, there's a byway straight ahead of me. So I get on the pegs, because I've done a bit of off-roading, and I go down this byway, dancing about.
On S20s.
Do you know what? It is scaring me to think about what could have happened, and I'll come to that. I come to a rest, and I have to just sit there taking in the good fortune of still being alive for 2 reasons. Quite often, the photographer used to park his car in that green lane to get it off the road.
Yeah.
But he put it to one side that day, so I had a free run to go down. If it had happened going the other way, I would have left the road. If I didn't hit a car coming the other way, I would have left the road, gone down this embankment and into a dry stone wall. Fuck it. It would have been properly messy.
Yeah.
Now, if I was lucky, I probably wouldn't have been here. Because if you're unlucky with things like hitting dry stone walls, you don't walk again, do you, or something horrid like that.
Eat through a straw for the rest of your life, yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what? I read. You know what it says on the back of the can? Change this brake fluid every 2 years. That's why, because it becomes it's hydroscopic. It absorbs water more and more and more, so that when it gets hot, it just cannot retain its hydraulic pressure, and it effectively boils and loses all the pressure. Second, other story that answers both questions. I've got a Laverna Jota back in the day, I got a bit bored with Japanese bikes. I thought, let's try some of this Italian exotica. And in fact, it wasn't a Jota. It was a Laverda 3CL. It was the bike that preceded it. It looked like a Jota, just slightly lower spec, but still a bit of a monster and a good bike to have. And I was messing about with the brakes in my garage. Anyhow, I finished messing about with the brakes, put everything back together, dress up, go quietly through my housing estate, quietly up the road that leads to the dual carriageway that I want to go down, and go down in a hurry, get onto the dual carriageway, whack it. And they were, in the day, they were quite fast, these things. So I'm doing about a 1 plus. Back then, that was quite a fast speed.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do is come off at the next slip road. That slip road, it's downhill and it leads to a T-junction at the bottom where traffic that's turned right off the dual carriageway goes onto this road. Have I explained that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Basically, I need to stop if there's any traffic coming. I very much need to stop. I go for the brake lever, straight back to the bar. Nobody's told me that after you've pushed pistons back into the caliper, you have to pump them back into position again.
Yeah.
Because this thing had a load of engine braking, and because I was only going gently, this was the very first time I needed brakes. And they were not there. Now, I say lucky, because I wasn't stopping. If traffic had been coming, along that road that I was coming to that T-junction, I would have just T-boned them and probably just been like tomato soup,
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I run over the T-junction, I bounce off this curb and end up in the middle of this field, having motorists who were going by going, why isn't there? That's not an off-roader.
Where's the film crew?
I couldn't do anything for at least 5 minutes while I just sort of contemplated life or the survival, and learned the big lesson there. Completely trashed both wheels on that Laverda, just flattened them. It was, I went over the curb at a good 60 to 70 mile an hour.
Oh, jeez, man.
Lucky to stay on it, really,
Absolutely. That is a horrible feeling. That I've only ever had that, where you go for the brakes and there's absolutely nothing there. Yeah, I've only ever had that with a rear brake, and I was going really slow. Like I was pulling up to a stop, so I've literally used a bit of the back brake to bring myself to a halt. And even at that, at like sub 10 miles an hour, was a oh fuck moment, just because there's nothing there, is there?
You realise just how much you need them, don't you? I mean, racers who've lost brake power, braking strength, Jesus Christ. I mean, I've had another proper scare, actually. But I've had another two I can mention. Shall I mention them?
Of course, go on, yeah.
Right, do you know what?
We're all here for these. We're here for these stories.
Sorry, why am I asking if I can talk? It's all fucking pointless.
Put your hand up. Put your hand up.
Yeah. I've got this Rickman Z1000, right? And basically, it's a fancied chassied motorbike with a Z1000 engine. Kawasaki Z1000 engine, good engine, but housed in a horribly handling, soft, flexy Japanese superbike that couldn't match anything decent like most Brit bikes, in fairness. Certainly Italian bikes like that 3CL and the Jota and a Guzzi Le Mans. This was a bit of a wobbler, but in a Rickman chassis with proper suspension. Mine was a bit of a dog, actually, but it was still better. It was light, it was stiffer. It worked, Mm-hmm. But the problem was, do you know what? I should not have survived that period of motorcycling. Just, honestly, shouldn't be. I just rode like an utter idiot.
Yeah.
Didn't sort of. I rode with utter contempt for things like corners and other traffic, blind crests.
Who cares what's round the corner? I'll be all right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've seen lads do it. And I just go, look at that wanker. It's complete hypocrisy. Whoever
Same.
I criticise riding on the road, whoever, every single one of them, if I do that, it's complete hypocrisy because I used to be the biggest wanker of all. Just pinned, you know, might have had the gear, but no idea whatsoever. Sort of, my brains, I think they were just in me balls. I didn't think about things at all. It was just this bravery test.
Hmm.
And the problem was, I used to work 20 miles away, and I found this course, this circuit, if you like, to get me to work. So it was Mossy's TT course.
Yeah.
And you know yourself, one of the worst things to do is get very familiar with a road. A, because you can ride it much harder. And this definitely applied to me, I come round this blind corner to go over a blind crest, but because I'd done it 100 times before with no problem, why should there ever be a problem?
Yeah.
I come around the corner, there's a combine harvester doing about 30, right? I'm doing at least plus 40, plus 50 on this. There's a car right behind him, maybe two cars. I'm hitting these cars unless I go to overtake, but I can't see if there's anything coming. Car comes the other way. He stuffs it into the hedge.
Jeez.
And do you know what? I'm genuinely having to have a pause here because, do you know what? The crashes are one thing. The near misses are way scarier. You imagining what could and should have happened.
Yeah.
About, I reckon, just 2 minutes up the road, it got too much for me. I had to stop and I was just shaking, just frazzled. I'd had a proper near-death experience here. And only because this bloke had been prepared to leave the road and give me some space to actually get through. Anyway, so I sat by the side of the road, I parked up by the side of the road, and these two cars behind the combine harvester went by, and the bloke just gave me the wanker sign and the clenched fist. He should have gone out and kicked the fuck out of me.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And just said, you complete and utter tosser.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, it's just a phase you need to go through, isn't it?
Yeah. But do you find now, though, when you see other people doing it, I know you said there that it's hypocrisy and stuff, but I see, I've got mates that still ride like that, and people that I meet through Teapot, and when we go and do rides, people who still ride that way, and there's part of me that goes, I want to ride like that, but then I just can't do it anymore because it's almost
no, good.
I've had my 9 lives.
Exactly.
I just can't. And for me, I'm not worried about me, and I don't mean that in a blasé fashion. It's that.
Should I let you into something? Neither are we.
But for me, it's like, that bloke that went into the verge. Well, imagine if he didn't, or even if he had gone into the verge, but you still hit him, and you caused him damage, or you killed him or something. Do you know what I mean? That's what plays in my head now, is that Jesus, we are effectively we are riding a lethal machine, not just for us, but for anybody else that's on there. I just can't ride like I used to anymore.
I don't know if you should really equate the two, but motorcycling to me, or motorcycles, are a bit like your cock. They can give you an awful lot of pleasure, but they can get you into a fucking load of bother.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Used wisely and in the right place at the right time, good on you.
That's key. That's key, isn't it? There is appropriate use, in my mind anyway. There's appropriate use of speed.
Hang on, I was still talking about the cock there. Right.
So am I. Right. Appropriate use of speed.
Right time and place, using that little weapon.
Tesco's, maybe not. Yeah, I'm like, I've had people say I'm hypocritical about a few things, because if I'm on the open road and the situation allows it and I'm comfortable and I'm happy with what I'm doing, I'll make some progress. I'll ride how I feel is appropriate. And it may well exceed certain speeds, but I feel comfortable in what I'm doing. And then I also think to myself, well, who am I to say that person who, in my mind, is riding too quick for a certain situation? Well, I know that in their mind, they're probably sat there thinking, I've got this, because we've been like that, haven't we? I used to think that. I've got this, I've nailed it.
I took Captain Scarlet. Do you know who he is? Please
The
don't tell me you don't know.
the
Captain Scarlet, the restaurants.
the what? The
Captain
Mister? Yeah, yeah,
Scarlet
yeah,
is,
yeah.
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
seeing it. I think my dad used to talk about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I was a baby. Yeah.
We're having a bit of an age chasm here, aren't we? Um, the best Captain Scarlet's USP was he was indestructible.
Mm,
And that's exactly how I felt when I was riding a bike as a
yeah,
youngster.
yeah,
This crashing and injury and death business, that was for other people. It wasn't for me. I think it's very important to have, you have to have a bit of belief, don't you? And a bit of confidence.
yeah.
You've got to be careful that it doesn't border on arrogance and behaviour of the type we're debating here. You know,
Mm,
you, you've got to realise that, you're just like anyone else.
yeah.
I got hurt at the TT when I raced there, and that was the first time I'd properly been injured. And that was a proper wake up call. Basically, the bloke upstairs pointed
Mm,
to me while I was in the hospital bed with my busted femur and head injury and said, "See, you're just like everyone else. You're
mm.
just as fragile. Learn your lesson." But it actually took an accident for me to just realise, hang on a minute, this can hurt.
Yeah. I had
I'd got away. I'd got away with far too many crashes
aye.
without being hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Without the consequence of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
like
subconscious thinks that I'm going to be okay. Sorry, go on.
my luckiest would be I had a massive crash in Germany one time on the Jigsaw with a couple of mates, triple digit speeds, ridiculous speeds, Black Forest, going around a corner, knee on the deck, and the bike just let go. I went over like some what do they call it? The overbanding. You know that overbanding they put on the road.
You have to say that in German for this story to be fully credible.
Pass, pass. But that overbanding had been ripped up, so there was a little channel in the road. And as I'm going around the
Was it?
corner, looking around the corner, all I noticed about the bike was out the corner of my eye, I just saw the
That
bike
it wasn't
pirouetting.
there.
Well, yeah, I saw the bike out the corner of my eye pirouetting, and then I was like,
Oh,
"What?" And I looked
yeah.
down because I had my knee on the deck as I'm going round. The bike just slid from underneath me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then you look because I'm now going towards the edge of the road, and there was like a lay-by off the road, and then that just disappeared off the side of the mountain. And I remember flipping on my back and starfishing, trying to slow down. I hit a curb, and then I just remember seeing sky and everything sort of disappear up like that as I've gone under the Armco, like on my back, straight out
So,
into the valley, and I just flown through the air. And I remember at one point it all slows down, doesn't it? And I remember thinking, well, next
what
comes the crunch,
yeah? Do you think
and
that
then
was it?
I
Did you
I
think that
kind of
was it?
did. Yeah, I kind of did. And then it was like it's a really weird sensation. It was like big hands came out and took me and put me on the ground. But what my mate said happened was I got caught in the trees. And it's basically the top of the trees and the canopies have sort of caught me, and I've just sort of tumbled down and ended up lying, feet down. I was in a crucifix. I was like head up, feet down, and I was just laying on the side of the mountain, totally winded, couldn't say anything. And I heard my mate Jimbo screaming for me. He couldn't see me, and there was a river at the bottom of the valley. So he thought, like, the bike had gone in the forest. The bike had somersaulted off the mountain and had gone in the forest. He thought I was in the river. And I just remember at the corner of my eye seeing him sprint down this mountain into the river. He's in the river up to like his waist trying to find me. And eventually, one of the boys, we were way ahead of the rest of the group. They've all stopped, and one of the lads saw me. So I had to get winched off this mountain by the fire service, and then like I broke my back. I did all sorts. But I was in like intensive care for like 3 days, but I tell you that didn't slow me down. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah,
That didn't slow me
yeah.
down. I was
How
just
much
like,
pain? And
but
more to the point, how quickly did you get back on the bike, Bruce? Because I had quite a few months off.
no, I was I ended up doing a runner from the hospital. I crashed on the Sunday, and on the Friday I did a runner from the hospital. I booked a flight, booked a taxi, dosed up myself on all the painkillers that they gave me, got on the flight, and I remember when the flight landed at Heathrow, I was in agony. Well, I had like
What,
three.
what,
I had two
what,
broken vertebrae, three fractured vertebrae, and I'd done a whole load of ribs, collarbone, done all sorts. But I
so why
just
did
dosed.
you why did you come back?
I wanted to be home. I just wanted to be home. And I'll be honest, I didn't know if I didn't have my EHIC card, you know, your European healthcare
Yeah,
card.
got you. Yeah,
It
got you.
hadn't arrived in time I did have one, but I physically didn't have it in my possession. And I was just like, shit, I'm gonna get stung for thousands. Obviously they're gonna follow you anyway, aren't they? So I just had to send it once I got back when I got
Yeah.
home. But I just wanted away from that situation. I just wanted home. And I remember phoning up work to say I can't come into work on like Monday, for example. Told them the
Yeah.
reason, and my old job, like the old bill, they basically turned around and said, "Okay, so that's a broken bone, right? Well, we can get you an office role in like a week." So they gave me 2 weeks, and then I was in an office, and then HR or OH, occupational health, said, "Well, it's 4 weeks minimum for a broken bone, so we can book you in for your feasibility test, your fitness test, you know, in another 2 weeks." So within 4 weeks, I was back on post. I'll look back and think, that's ridiculous because I've got nerve damage and everything in my back. My back's fucked.
Well, I mean, well, how well could you do your job when you got back to your normal duties?
I could stand. That's all you need to
Yeah,
do
but
in my
how
job.
painful?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but how
painful. Yeah,
painful
yeah.
then?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I've still got a dodgy back now, but my thing is that didn't slow me down. What slowed me down was years later, I ended up having about three or four accidents, one after the other, in the space of about 18 months, and they were pretty much all, bar one pheasant incident, they were all slow speed in and out of central London, and it was at speeds where, you know, say not saying I was doing this, but say you're doing 36 mile an hour in a 30, and you think, I can react to everything here. You know, there's no drama. Mopeds and everything, cyclists are whizzing by. I can cope with this. And someone pulled out in front of me, and I couldn't stop in time. And that was like this massive, massive wake up call for me, in that, you know, your actual abilities and your reactions
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
nowhere near what you're perceived. And I'd done the full police bike course and everything by that point. So I'm by no means a novice. You know, I'm riding to the system just a little bit quick.
I mean, can I just say something there? Actually, that you know the crashes that really affect your head.
Mm,
That deer crash did.
mm,
I just went, man. I was minding my own business, riding, well within myself. Good weather, good tires, all that stuff I previously
yeah.
mentioned, and something beyond my control
Yes.
completely has brought me down.
Life stepped
And
in.
exactly that. Now, for the next few weeks, every time I was riding past forests,
Yeah.
do you know what? I was saying, if a deer jumps out at the wrong time here, that's it.
It's
Game
end
over,
off. Yeah, it's end off. Yeah, yeah.
And, and get this is the one that really harmed me psychologically. 7 weeks after I hit that deer, right, I'm on the Foss Way, much, much further up from there, going the other way to some social function with a load of other journos. We have this lunch every so often together. And fucking hell, this much, much bigger deer jumps out right in front of me, right? And I just miss it. So suddenly, what I'm trying to tell myself as a once in a lifetime
Yeah. Yeah.
incident, which is never going to happen again, has to be thrown completely out the window because
Yeah.
just 7 weeks later, I nearly do it again. Do you know, I was really frazzled, actually. I wanted to stop and phone everyone I knew to tell them that story. I needed to get it out of my system.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I get to this social function, and I kid you not, after about 2 hours, one of the lads said, Mossy, we know that you've hit a deer and we know that you've nearly hit another because you keep telling us, now why don't you just shut up? We love you, but we've had enough of this. I couldn't. everybody who said that afternoon, how are you doing, Mossy? I just said, oh, hear this.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I just had to keep telling it, But
It's always
yeah,
on my. Sorry, go on. Apologies.
well, it's funny, isn't it? The near miss the second time, and all that it represented was far worse than the actual
Mm,
first time, which was psychologically damaging enough. That
mm,
really did mess with me head, that one. And I wouldn't care. I thought back to all these times that you've seen dead deer by the side of the road, and
yeah,
just I've had deer. I've had a deer walk out in front of me, and it's not been a hazard, and I've just laughed.
yeah,
It's a very, very different story, quite obviously, when you get involved with the thing and have an incident yourself. There's a lot of things, isn't there? Lots of things in life that are just a bit theoretical until they actually happen to you.
yeah. True.
Getting mugged or getting brought off your bike, or you know, when it actually happens to you. I mean, Christ, I used to work for the Storm Model Agency as a courier. And I took one of the girl agents, the girl who takes all the calls and organises all the jobs for the models. I gave her a lift home, and she was a bit new to biking. And I got over the other side of Vauxhall Bridge, and I crashed. Rider problems,
Mm,
rider error, nothing to do with a bloody bike. And fuck, she was really shocked. She didn't know where the fuck she was.
mm, mhm.
And I was really sympathetic to that. I had to really calm her down and convince her that she was okay. She took a bit of skin off, but her ashen face sort of told the story. It's like,
Mm,
oh, I've just nearly died.
yeah.
It's a much bigger deal, isn't it? I mean, I've lost a passenger off the back twice.
Jesus, have you?
Yeah. The first time I should have been really. That was the second time. Shouldn't be admitting to this really, but let's just say I'm making it up. It was a lesson I learned from, and so should somebody else. I had an RS 250 Aprilia, right?
Hmm.
But it had a seat hump on it. It had pillion pegs, but the seat hump was on instead of the pillion seat itself. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. I know
A
what you
bit
mean. Yeah, the cowl
like an
thing.
S
Yeah,
ride.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly that seat. Anyhow, I put girlfriend on the back who's got crimpoline trousers on, that do not offer much in the way of friction. And then, strangely, and I can't tell this story as honestly as I want, but let's just say, for reasons I'll keep to myself, I noticed the bike become lighter in this town. And looked back as I accelerated. I noticed I think the acceleration rate improved. And I thought, you know what? This has picked up a bit smartly here. And I looked back to possibly see why and have confirmed the reason it was going a bit faster because there was no passenger on it anymore.
Oh,
The
were they all
bike
right?
had effectively, no, hang on, hear me out. The bike had effectively left, it had gone away from between her legs to be
Mm.
no more and offer no more support in the atmosphere. So down she went. She went down, face down.
Oh,
And do you know what? I got off the bike and started running back, and she didn't move. And
oh,
then I got a bit
Jesus.
closer, and there was blood trickling out of the aperture, the
Mm.
visor aperture of the helmet.
Oh, God.
And then she said, "I can't feel my feet." And I just went, "Oh man!" Again, this is another time to be to reflect in an almost terrified way right now. What she'd done is dislodged a tooth, lots of blood had come out, and she'd knocked something, but by the time we got sorted, she'd got full use of her legs. But I think
Oh,
she'd got what do you call it? Numbed, just a dead
yeah,
leg or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, I wasn't proud of that. And her father gave me a proper talking to, quite rightly.
Yeah, yeah.
Needless accident. I mean, in a way, sometimes they are the very best lessons of all. I don't like taking passengers, that readily,
Mm. Mhm. I'm the same.
because, and I certainly talk them through what they should expect and how to do it. Don't
Yeah.
sort of try to lead the bike before me. Just come
Just
with
go
me,
with it.
all of them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Just
Just calm
relax.
down. Yeah. And more to the point, there's something I tell them straight away is, if you don't like this, just kick me, bash me, just let me know that you're not liking it. I am not here to scare you.
Mhm.
I'm here to show you, the pleasures of motorcycling, certainly not terrify you. So, and if you
Not
want to
A&E.
stop, then we do exactly that. Can I just 1 second, Bruce? I'm just going to leave the screen for 5 seconds.
No props.
I just need to. I've got some sort of allergy that makes me bloody nose run. I don't know what it is. I've thought of another couple of things actually. I'll talk about those when appropriate or if appropriate.
Right,
or in podcast 3. I'll talk about those in podcast 8.
We might need to do that. Right, last one of the Patreon ones, and we've got Lamb Chops. Lamb Chops is on here. He says, "How you doing, John?"
Now, hang on. I need to word this carefully.
Right, that'll do for this week, folks. Stand by for part 2.